In the shattered desert of the Black Sand region in the Immortal World, a pack of level 3 desert wolves was frantically chasing 3 young people who were running for their lives while continuously calling for help. It was indeed unfortunate that they originally intended to hunt level 1 sand scorpions, but unexpectedly encountered this difficult group of monsters. The 3 of them included a pastor, a sorceress, and a warrior, all at level 3 facing the desert wolves was indeed a bit forced. The level 3 warrior was the team leader. But in this situation, there was no other solution than to tell her 2 teammates to try to run. Just in front of them were several desert locust trees, and the wolves did not seem to know how to climb trees. If they could quickly climb up there first, there would still be a glimmer of hope, although saying that. But in reality, she was extremely tense because more than anyone else, this person knew that desert wolves were a type of ferocious monster. Once they locked onto a target, it was very difficult to let go. Meanwhile, they were already injured from the previous battle, and the last 2 pieces of black iron equipment on them had just been damaged. To make matters worse, when they ran very close to the locust forest, the sorceress behind suddenly tripped, and the desert wolves quickly caught up, leaping up in an instant, ready to pounce on her. This person seemed to have fallen into despair as she could no longer run and could not fight back. However, at that moment, a flash of light appeared. No one could see clearly, only knowing that after regaining composure, one of the wolves had been taken down, knocked out with a single blow. A sharp blade had pierced the throat of the vicious monster, and then a mysterious figure dressed in a hooded cloak from head to toe appeared. The sorceress thought that this was the person who had saved her. She breathed a sigh of relief, but the system displayed that this person was only at level 1, and she fell into despair once again at such a novice. Even if they were lucky enough to take down 1 desert wolf, how could they possibly handle a whole pack? At this moment, the young man also pulled down his hood, revealing a handsome face and cold, murderous eyes. He murmured that the strength of the level 3 monsters was only this much. The desert wolves only paused briefly after sensing the threat, but quickly regained their ferocity and charged forward. The young man did not hesitate. He immediately drew his sword and rushed forward, the 2 sides clashing like arrows shot from a bow, and then in the blink of an eye, the young man had taken them all down. The 3 level 3 individuals were extremely astonished. They had almost lost their lives to this pack of desert wolves, yet a level 1 person like the young man was able to defeat them. He even took down 4 with such ease. This young man did not resemble a novice at all. "Oh no, everyone look!" The sorceress suddenly pointed, and everyone followed the direction she was pointing, feeling a chill as they realized that for some unknown reason there were now an additional 10 wolves gathering here. The desert wolves have concentrated here. This was truly unfortunate as so many wolves suddenly appeared. Perhaps the wolves nearby had caught the scent of blood from their teammates and aggressively rushed over. All 3 of them quickly took off running before leaving. The female team leader of the squad did not forget to warn the young man. "Run quickly. This is a pack of desert wolves capable of slaughtering an entire novice village. This is no joke. You will be torn to shreds." Yet the young man merely turned his head slightly, a half smile full of pride and confidence on his face as he replied, "Is that so?" Saying this, he extended his hand and several cards appeared in his palm, along with a notification from the system player Lamu. "Do you wish to summon a skeleton warrior?" Lamu expressionlessly confirmed his request with a simple yes, and the cards in his hand immediately shot out. When they landed, they created a massive formation that emitted a strange blue light, and then the ground began to crack open from beneath it. The white skeletons began to twist and rise. They were level 3 skeletal warriors with 100 life points, 35 attack power points, and 5 defense power points. With the same active skill called slaughtering the white skeleton army that Lam Uyen had just summoned, they were even more aggressive than that pack of desert demons, and he was very confident about it. Now let's see who will be torn to shreds first. And so both sides immediately charged at each other like monsters that hadn't bathed in blood for a long time. 15 minutes later, the entire pack of desert demons, consisting of 16 creatures, was completely wiped out by Lam Uyen's skeletal army. He received 160 experience points along with 16 wolf fangs and 16 pelts. The group hiding nearby couldn't help but be astonished at this scene. They were so shocked that they couldn't even dream that Lam Uyen could achieve such an impossible feat alone. While he was just a level 1 player, having resolved the danger, the female mage in the group approached to start a conversation. "Excuse me, you are a mage, right? The magic you just used seems to be a summoning spell, right? I'm also a mage, but I've never seen a skill like yours before." "Who said I was a mage?" Lam Uyen replied with a very indifferent expression. The other party wanted to ask what his actual profession was, but Lamu Yen only smiled mysteriously and had no intention of explaining because his true profession was a Death Hunter 01, a forbidden profession with an SS-level talent called Dark Summoning. Lamu Yen's identity was also very special. He was originally a space traveler from Earth. 3 years ago, a scientist observed a mysterious giant celestial body named the Demon Star suddenly appear near Earth. 3 months later, a mysterious company suddenly launched a virtual reality game. The game was called Immortal World, surpassing the technological capabilities of the era and astonishing the entire world, prompting many to want to participate. Users would have to wear a virtual reality headset provided by the publisher, and then they would step into another world with almost absolute real emotions. Here, humans are divided into different professions, and through continuous leveling up, they would gain enough power to confront the monsters in the game. Initially, everyone didn't pay much attention. After all, it was just a game. However, one day, some people in the real world also gained abilities similar to those in the game, and they began to be called Celestial Chosen Ones. Since then, a group claiming to be followers of the Void Demon emerged from the game into the real world, carrying out countless brutal massacres against humanity. Lamu Yen's parents were also lost in the early days of that disaster. To address the crisis, humanity gathered the strength of all the Celestial Chosen Ones worldwide to rise up and counterattack, but unfortunately they were continuously defeated by the followers of the Void Demon. They had to retreat step by step, and Lamu Yen also sacrificed himself in that final decisive battle. But unexpectedly, just 1 hour ago, he was reborn right at the moment he first entered the immortal world. Moreover, this time the system assigned him a forbidden profession. Unique from anyone else with an SSS-level talent, this made Lamu Yen believe that his rebirth also carried the mission of protecting both his family and the Earth. This motivated him to quickly level up and increase his strength, now standing before the corpses of the wolves. Lamu Yen did not intend to waste such great resources. He immediately used the dark summoning spell on the corpses of these desert demons. Instantly, the pack of wolves seemed to come back to life. They could stand up, even looking more ferocious than before. The greatest feature of this forbidden profession was that it allowed Lamu Yen to possess the physique of a warrior. He could also use the dark summoning spell to turn monster corpses into fighting zombies for him. Moreover, these zombie monsters not only inherited the levels and skills they had when alive, but they also had an additional new skill called Corporeal Undead, which made them immune to some negative effects during combat. Lamu Yen also had another talent called Portal. This divine realm allows him to store monsters resurrected by the dark summoning technique in the divine space, and the number of stored entities will gradually increase. Based on the user's level, it means that as long as Lamu Yen's level is high enough, he will possess a powerful undead army without rivals when witnessing the process of Lamu Yen resurrecting the corpses of the demons, the desert wolf, and put them away. The three girls couldn't help but grimace, and their captain immediately asked here, "Is resurrecting the dead into zombies? Who are you really? Time is running out." Lamu Yen replied somewhat unrelatedly because he knew that the boss, the Death Wolf, was about to appear in this shattered desert. But instead of being tense, Lamu Yen was very much looking forward to it. It was time for him to fight the boss. Right after that, the sky of the desert, which was previously clear, suddenly filled with lightning, and then the sky cracked open, the rift growing larger, signaling that the Death Wolf had arrived. Some people remembered that on the official game website it mentioned that this boss's attack range was up to 50 meters, so other players began to flee in panic. However, not everyone was lucky enough to escape. The Death Wolf was indeed terrifying, just like its name, large, powerful, and fierce. It had already sent many players on their way, although it was so ferocious. No one dared to fight back because this Lord-level boss was level 6 with both high life value and attack and defense capabilities. A single player absolutely could not defeat it. If players did not work together and have a clear strategy, they would only end up as fodder. In the immortal world, every sensation was incredibly real, so when standing before the Death Wolf, any player felt suffocated. They even thought, a monstrous creature like that could not be defeated. It could be defeated, but that perspective did not include Lamu Yen because while all the players were busy looking for a place to hide, he appeared alone before the other players. Watching Lamu Yen's solitary steps, they did not understand what he was trying to do, even though his gaze was filled with determination after all. Lamu Yen was just a newbie, and they did not believe he could harm that monster. In the immortal world, monsters are ranked from weak to strong, including common elite leader, Lord King Master, and divine levels. Among them, Lord-level monsters, although only one of the lower tiers among world bosses still posed a deadly threat to new players. Yet at this moment, Lamu Yen had stopped right in front of the Death Wolf. Other players were horrified at this scene. Someone couldn't help but shout, "Are you crazy? Get back! You're just a newbie. Going up there is just asking to die." Lamu Yen heard them but didn't care because in his eyes this once terrifying level 6 world boss now looked like nothing more than that. And Lamu Yen was confident that he could handle it. The Death Wolf, seeing him standing alone in front of it, was furious, its mouth stained. With the blood of other players suddenly opened, this boss activated its active skill, the Howling Wolf, and at its roar the ground trembled violently. It seems like it's about to crack. Lamu Yen is busy standing firm in the midst of that storm. It doesn't stop here. The Death Wolf quickly lunges at him, wanting to finish off its opponent with another active skill called the Death Claw, which suffocates everyone's heart. Everyone thinks that Lamu Yen will surely meet a miserable end, yet he remains particularly calm. Lamu Yen remembers that in his previous life, this level 6 Death Wolf, under the boss's enhanced abilities, had a real-life value of 3,400 points and an attack power of 510 points against explorers in the Shattered Desert. At that time, the highest level had only reached level 3, so one could only rely on collective fighting to have a chance to confront it, and Lamu Yen, in his previous life also, almost lost his life in that collective battle. But he, in this life, after countless bloody battles before, was no longer the Lamu Yen of old. As the sharp claws of that monster were about to descend, Lamu Yen quickly dodged to the side. Many players simultaneously displayed astonished expressions upon witnessing this scene. Because Lamu Yen's speed was truly too fast, the Death Wolf became even angrier after missing its attack. It officially entered a state of rage and became much more aggressive. But Lamu Yen showed no signs of being threatened. He pressed his hands to the ground and opened a summoning formation for his netherworld gate. When that gate opened, it was also the moment when Lamu Yen's powerful undead legion appeared. This scene left the crowd even more astonished. This was the first time they had seen such a bizarre thing. And when the undead monsters poured out, they were even more puzzled about how Lamu Yen could single-handedly turn so many level 3 desert wolves into zombies like that. On the way here, Lamu Yen had continuously farmed the small monsters and successfully leveled up to level 3. The storage limit of the Netherworld Gate had also reached 30, although this made him approach the Death Wolf, appearing slightly later than other players, but it didn't matter according to the hatred mechanism in the immortal world. If the summoner is stronger than the summoned monster, then when both appear, the first attack target of the monster will be the summoner, unless it is actively attacked by the summoned monster, which will then change its target. At this moment, Lamu Yen's undead wolves were surrounding the Death Wolf and continuously attacking it, making the level Lord boss extremely busy. Counterattack. This was the opportunity Lamu Yen had been waiting for to rush in and attack. He took advantage of the hatred mechanism when the boss was about to attack his summoned creature. To draw its attention away to avoid too many casualties for the undead horde, Lamu Yen's sharp sword extended on the monster, making it tilt its neck back with a painful cry. Right after that, the Death Wolf's attention shifted back to Lamu Yen. It began to ignore the undead and chase after him, but at that moment, Lamu Yen commanded his undead legion to attack it again to activate the hatred mechanism once more. Just like that, as time stretched on, even a small bite could kill an elephant. Although each undead wolf only dealt 15 points of damage per bite with 3,400 life points of the Death Wolf, it wouldn't hold out for much longer. The battle had been led by Lamu Yen from the start, and it was not hard for everyone to notice that the life of the Death Wolf was gradually depleting while he looked very relaxed. They praised Lamu Yen for being truly powerful, but alongside that, there were also a few thugs staring at him simultaneously, wearing a smile full of implications, not knowing what they were plotting. A few minutes later, Lamu Yen had already whittled down nearly all the health of the Death Wolf. Just a few minutes later, Lamu Yen had already drained nearly all the blood from the corpse of the giant wolf. At this moment, the boss's life value was only 500 left. He seized the opportunity to launch a nearly fatal attack with his sword when this strike landed. The giant wolf immediately collapsed to the ground, falling into a dying state with 10 life points just as those thugs rushed in from behind due to the zombie army. Lin Uyen's life had been completely taken by the boss, so they were waiting for this moment to rush in and loot, stealing the target from Lin Uyen. A few players behind could not bear to watch this scene. They loudly warned him to be careful, but unfortunately for those thugs, Lin Uyen was not someone to be easily bullied. He turned around unable to be colder, swinging out a sharp sword strike, instantly sending the three thugs flying, not knowing their own strength. Lin Uyen coldly muttered a few words. Although the fate of those three was completely deserved, the witnesses could not help but feel shocked, partly because they did not believe that Lin Uyen could end all three level 3 thieves with just a single move. At this moment, the giant wolf with its last bit of blood had staggered to its feet behind Lin Uyen, but its fate had long been sealed. He swung his sword for another strike. This time it was truly a fatal attack. The giant wolf was defeated, and Lin Uyen initially received 480 experience points. Along with a soul crystal, he was truly curious about what rewards the first world boss in the entire game would drop. A moment later, from the monster's corpse fell a soul crystal in a silver treasure chest. The soul crystal was a gem containing the power of the soul. When enough were collected, one could go to the Eternal Council in exchange for legendary level equipment. But players could only reach the Eternal Council, the residents of the elf tribe, after reaching level 60 to continue leveling up. It was still too early for Lin Uyen, however. This soul crystal was the simplest path to obtaining legendary level equipment in the immortal world. Equipment levels are classified from low to high as follows: white, common, black, iron, bronze, silver, gold, black gold, epic, legendary, and mythic. New players usually only have common white equipment, and it is very rare to receive black iron equipment. 2 hours ago, based on his experience from his previous life, Lin Uyen had controlled 2 warriors to lure the elite black sand lizard away. Then he was lucky enough to pick up a bronze treasure chest guarded by them, which contained a black magic cloak, a type of bronze equipment with an effect of increasing 30 defense points, 10 spirit points, and 10 agility points. And now, thanks to being the first to defeat the world boss, Lin Uyen had received a title of Hunter. Its effect is that when equipped, it increases attack power by 10%, critical hit rate by 10%, and magical damage by 10% in the immortal world. Different titles can provide players with various attributes or states. This Hunter title indeed had a decent effect, and Lin Uyen was quite satisfied. Finally, it was time to open that silver treasure chest. Inside were a series of items. The first was the Silver Moon Sword, a silver quality sword that contained the energy of the moonlight, helping to increase 100 strength points, attack, and 10 agility attributes. Next was a ring named Death's Bronze, also of silver quality, which would increase an additional 40 spirit attributes when equipped. In addition, it also came with the skill Corrosive Ray, which could be leveled up at level 1 of this skill. It dealt magical damage equal to 200% of corrosive damage to the enemy target. Next were consumable items, including recovery potions that restored 20% of health and mana. The skill scroll level 1 after use would increase 100 skill proficiency points, and monster essence could be used to craft potions or consume directly. After consumption, it would increase 10 points in physical strength, agility, or spirit. Lin Uyen did not show any significant change in expression, but inside he was as happy as a lark. This harvest was indeed substantial. The first world boss in the game truly brought generous rewards. At this moment, the experience points had also been calculated. Lin Uyen's data had been updated by the system. He had advanced from level 3 to level 4. Lam Uyen's data has been updated by the system. He has progressed from level 3 to level 4. Each time a player levels up, they receive 5 attribute points to distribute freely. This time, Lam Uyen has allocated 3 points to the spirit attribute and 2 points to the strength attribute. After this level up, Lam Uyen's attributes are now the highest among players in the Shattered Desert. Additionally, the storage limit of the Netherworld Gate has increased to 40 slots, although all of Lam Uyen's undead wolf minions have perished in this battle. However, he has obtained the corpse of the Death Wolf, so he doesn't feel at a loss at all. In the face of Lam Uyen's power, the Death Wolf stands up once again. Besides its previous skills, it has learned a new skill called Wrath of the Immortal. This skill increases attack power by 10% and critical hit rate by 20% for its allied units. The Death Wolf is truly worthy of being a world boss, possessing both area damage skills. It also has the ability to control groups transforming into a zombie. Besides the effect of the undead body, it has an additional skill with the help of this zombie wolf. Lam Uyen is confident that soon enough he will be able to fully replenish the positions in the Netherworld Gate, watching as Lam Uyen turns the world boss into a zombie and drives it into that portal as if shooing away a chicken. The onlooking players around can't help but swallow hard due to the tension. They feel that Lam Uyen is much scarier than the world boss, and when faced with his icy gaze, they all instinctively step aside, trying to act as if they do not exist. The three thieves have perished, leaving behind a black iron sword, which is quite a good weapon for low-level new players. But Lamu already has the moonlit blade. Therefore, he pulls out this sword. He approaches the group of lucky surviving players hiding behind some rocks. The atmosphere is extremely tense surrounding this group. They all think that Lamu is coming to deal with them, but they are so scared that they don't dare to run. Lamu walks straight up to a player who had warned him earlier when he was attacked by the three thieves and asks, "You were the one who warned me, right?" That..." The player stammers in response but can't find the words. Due to impatience, Lamu doesn't wait for him to finish speaking and shoves the sword into his hand. The guy is dumbfounded, not understanding what Lamu means. "Thanks, this gift might be useful for you." After saying that, he quickly leaves. The guy grips the sword tightly in his hand, staring blankly at Lamu retreating figure while the remaining players quickly surround him, exclaiming in awe, "He came here just to give you a sword!" Upon closer inspection, they realize that this sword is indeed of black iron quality, currently valued at several tens of thousands of yuan. 10 minutes later, while walking in the desert, Lamu suddenly feels something is off. This feeling, if he is not mistaken, is that the virtual reality helmet is out of battery. There is no other choice. Lamu has to log out of the immortal world and temporarily return to his real world. On the computer screen in front of him is still the interface of this game. The immortal world is a surreal, panoramic game. It is divided into several login areas by country. Additionally, each login area includes different countries within the game for player diversity. Taking the Elpis area where Lamu is, as an example, it is divided into 4 countries: the ancient West Desert, the Southern Empire, the Northern Ming Empire, and the Tidal Islands. Lamu had to log out of the immortal world, temporarily returning to his real world, where the screen in front of him still displayed the interface of this game. The immortal world is a surreal panoramic game. It is divided into many login areas by country. Additionally, each login area includes different countries in the game to diversify player experiences. Taking the Elpis area where Lamu is located as an example, it is divided into 4 countries: the ancient West, the Southern Empire, the Northern Ming Empire, and the archipelago of Chowtik. After being reborn, Lamu made the same choice as in his previous life, which was to be born in the ancient West Desert Kingdom, because in his past life before he died, he discovered a secret. Lamu suddenly remembered the gem on his chest that he had seen before. That golden Magu gem was the emblem of the ancient West Desert Kingdom, the first follower of the Void Evil God. It was indeed the human player Lamu sitting on a chair, his fingers lightly brushing his chin. His gaze silently lost in thought as he remembered that the first follower was a character. The key to summoning the evil god to the blue star, that thought just flashed through his mind, and his eyes immediately darkened, a cold glint passing through the depths of his eyes. Now there were 3 years left until the evil god appeared. If during that time he could eliminate it, he might be able to prevent the tragedy from repeating. Lamu sighed inwardly. The only clue he had was that emblem. Under the open light, he gently propped his chin in thought. Only the guild in the main city of the West Desert had the golden gem, and the condition to enter the main city was to reach level 10 to clarify the identity of this old rat. I need to level up quickly. Suddenly, Lamu paused as if he had just remembered something. That's right. He opened the system interface that appeared before him, the blue light flickering, a green aura flashing, enveloping the space before Lamu. He had truly summoned a skeleton. In the palm of his hand, the object was crushed by him. Some players in the immortal world could bring their in-game power back to the real world as soon as they entered the game. Those who could do this were called Celestial Chosen Ones. Celestial Chosen Ones were also known as Destiny Children. Each Celestial Chosen One possessed a hidden profession. Strong and with extremely high luck stats, they were the main fighting force to counter the evil god in the final stages. Lamu recalled that in his previous life he had only received the abilities of the character in the game. When the disaster on the blue star erupted in the real world, but this time it came much earlier. He pressed his lips together, his facial muscles tightening to hide the surging emotions. It seems that the forbidden profession of Death Hunter is indeed not simple. It's not much different from the Celestial Chosen Ones who possess hidden professions. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupted Lamu's thoughts. He stepped forward and stopped in front of the door. That's right. This time is... In front of Lam's parents was a table of hot food, Mr. Lam's face filled with curiosity. Uyen, what is this? Lamu placed a plate of chicken in the center and said, "It's all done, let's eat." She picked up her chopsticks a little pleased and patted Mr. Lam on the shoulder. "Old Lam, don't you recognize it?" "It's rare. This is Uyen's heartfelt gesture. Why don't you eat quickly?" Mr. Lam nodded. He stood there watching the joyful smiles of Lam's parents. A common trait of humans is that only when they lose something do they truly realize its meaning and seek ways to make up for it. Lamu Yen remembered the time he was holed up in his room playing games in his previous life. Dazed and oblivious, ignoring the peaceful days the sounds of arguments echoed, this child, if he continued to be obsessed with games like this, he would completely ruin himself. Couldn't he say a little less? Later, Uyen would be unhappy again. Lam witnessed his parents die before his eyes, and only when the disaster took everything did he painfully realize his previous ignorance. He stood there, his pupils constricting, tears welling up as he returned to reality. Lam Uyen sat down to serve food for them. "Isn't it Sunday? Isn't Xiao Dan coming home for dinner?" Mrs. Lam picked up a piece of meat and brought it to her mouth, happily saying, "Lately I have to prepare for the mock exam and bring food to school for review." He stood there, his pupils constricting, tears streaming down his face. Back in reality, Lamu Yen sat down to serve food for them. "Isn't Xiao Dan coming home for dinner today?" Mrs. Lam picked up a piece of meat and brought it to her mouth, cheerfully saying that recently they had to prepare for mock exams and bring lunch to school for review. "That's right, when you have time, bring food for the little girl, okay? Takeout food is never as good as freshly cooked." As soon as she took a bite, she praised it non-stop. "I didn't expect Uyen to know how to cook. This chicken wing is delicious, Mr. Lam. Don't compete with me, okay? He spoils her enough already." "It's all for me, Mr. Lam." Seeing his actions, Lam Uyen picked up food for him and smiled, saying that she would learn more dishes later. Both of them were taken aback and stopped eating. Mrs. Lam was moved to tears. Mr. Lam smiled gently and nodded. In the following days, he began to train his body with high intensity, wanting to have better control in the future. The strength gained from the game in the real world requires a strong physique as a foundation. Lam Uyen diligently hit the punching bag to improve his condition, and in the following days he went running. Lam Uyen raised his watch to check 50 meters in 5.5 seconds is not bad, but there's still a lot of potential for improvement. Sweat poured down his face as if he didn't know fatigue. It was time to go home. Immediately, the system panel lit up, opening a new strange space. Brilliant and mysterious, the aura surrounded him, slowly leading Lam Uyen through the new space. "You have entered the crystal desert under the light, with birds flying low, gently gliding over the ground." They swiftly glided over his head, accompanied by their shrill cries. Lam Uyen slightly raised his eyes, his sharp gaze sweeping upwards as a hawk swooped down from above. Its speed was like tearing through the wind, heading straight for him. It opened its beak full of sharp teeth, and simultaneously the system announced Common Hawk Level 2, Vitality 40 Attack 20 Defense 2 Skill Peck Attack. Lam Uyen calmly raised his sword in a swift motion. It didn't have time to cry out before being sliced in two, eliminating the Common Hawk and earning 15 experience points. He turned his head, his cold gaze filled with disdain. Only 15 experience points, but the corner of Lam Uyen's eye suddenly flashed with something. A stream of green light spread throughout its body, and suddenly a giant foot with sharp claws appeared from the darkness. The desert wolf slowly approached. Its red eyes glinted in the yellow sand, and he quietly stood behind a rock, observing every movement in front of him. Indeed, it was one of the prey that the desert wolf favored the most. Immediately, it attracted a large pack of wolves. From his cloak, Lam Uyen took out a vial of medicine and quickly twisted off the cap. He stood in front of them for a moment, hesitated, then drank it all in an instant. Lam Uyen lunged forward. His speed was like a whirlwind, sweeping everything in front of him. The monster's essence had used the attributes +10, and at that moment the desert wolf swung its claws, charging straight at him with terrifying intensity. "Let's keep warming up." Lam Uyen moved in a straight line. The sword in his hand flashed like lightning, slicing through and decapitating them. He successfully eliminated 4 desert wolves before 2 more suddenly charged at him. He rushed in, swinging his sword decisively, quickly finishing them off. He successfully eliminated 10 desert wolves, and as Lam Uyen's feet touched the ground, he pushed down to stabilize himself. The growls and howls echoed from them as the desert wolves changed their strategy, surrounding him from all directions. Lam Uyen's breath became rapid, his hands tightening around the sword hilt. His gaze radiated a cold and authoritative aura. At just the right moment, Lam Uyen advanced straight, his sword flashing as it swept through them, blood splattering with each slash. "You have successfully eliminated 20 desert wolves. You have successfully eliminated 30 desert wolves. You have successfully eliminated 40 desert wolves. Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 5. They turned around and entered the open portal to the underworld. After 2 battles, the number of demon corpses in the underworld portal has been fully replenished. Returning to the system, a notification suddenly rang out. Player Lamu, level 5, profession Necromancer Hunter, forbidden talent, dark summoning, underworld portal 50 out of 50, strength 22, physique 20, agility 45, spirit 48, experience 38 out of 1,252. His eyes glanced down, and with the essence of the monster consumed, he gained 4 main attributes. Now my combat power can solo elite monsters of the same level. Dust-dispersed Lamu looked straight at that city. So next it's time to find that person. In a town named Black Sand, crowds of people bustling back and forth. Lamu walked through the crowd with a cold expression until he stopped in front of a small house and the door slowly creaked open. The light from outside shone into the space inside the house. A red-faced man holding a jug of wine asked, "Who is it?" "That is QC, the wizard instructor in Black Sand Town." Lamu stepped inside and spoke up. "Teacher QC, I'm here to learn skills." In the immortal world, skills are usually obtained through skill books dropped from monsters and dungeons, but each profession also has a corresponding instructor for newcomers. Responsible for teaching skills, he recalled past events. This was his instructor from his previous life when he was still a wizard QC. He spoke in a drunken tone, so there would be money for drinking for the next half-month. Lamu remembered his previous life. He was a necromancer, a forbidden profession. Unfortunately, he knew very little information related to this profession. However, in terms of combat style, it could also be considered a magic-based profession. Lamu calculated a bit before acquiring his own skills as a necromancer. He could still learn the common skills of a wizard. He took out a small pouch and said, "I want to learn soul fire magic, healing magic, and stealth." The pouch disappeared from Lamu's hand and appeared in QC's hand. With money, it was easy to talk. Looking at the pouch full of coins, he couldn't help but feel delighted. Quincy extended his hand and a green energy ball appeared in his palm. "Young man, give it your best. The glory of the wizard will shine brightly on your path." As soon as QC used the skill on him, the system's sound continuously rang out, congratulating the player for receiving 3 skills. Profession Wizard, Soul Fire Magic, Black Steel Level 1. Effect deals magical damage equal to 100% of damage to the target, consuming 10 mana, cooldown time 10 seconds. Proficiency, not over 100. Healing Magic Black Steel Level 1. Effect applies healing power to the target, restoring 10% of health to the target, consuming 10 mana. Cooldown time 3 minutes. Proficiency not over 100. Stealth Black Steel Level 1. Effect enters a stealth state lasting 5 seconds, consuming 10 mana, cooldown time 3 minutes. Looking at the information on the system panel, Lamu stroked his chin thoughtfully. Soul Fire Magic ensures ranged attack power. Healing magic can heal oneself and teammates, but these are just the most basic techniques. To learn more advanced skills, he must think of ways to earn more resources. It's time to set off to level up. At a mountain, the Black Sand Mountain to the east of Black Sand Town, as he stepped inside the system, announced, "Congratulations, the player has discovered the dog-headed monster cave." Lamu recalled information related to the dog-headed monster, a level 5 monster living in nearby caves and tunnels. They have a very keen sense of smell, can detect enemies in the dark, prefer ambushes, and usually gather in groups of around 100. He frowned slightly, narrowing his eyes. Whether in terms of quantity or level, the dog-headed monsters are currently the most suitable monsters for him to use his zombie army to level up. Then Lamu took out a vial of medicine bought from an NPC merchant half an hour ago. The system sound reappeared, stating that the night vision potion provides a 3-meter radius of visibility in dark environments for players. The duration of effectiveness is 30 minutes. He stood next to the zombie desert wolf gate, which was as big as a person, and they appeared one after another. It was convenient to use these dog-headed people to maximize stealth proficiency while leveling up. Stealth and soul fire magic were activated simultaneously. Lamu pointed the torch forward, commanding them to go ahead and clear the path. The system displayed a notification ordinary torch. With a visibility radius of 5 meters, he and the zombie desert wolves slowly ventured deeper into the mountain. 15 minutes later, Lamu and they were still walking in a long tunnel. Suddenly, in the darkness, he halted, his gaze becoming alert. There was a toxic presence. Immediately, Lamu threw the torch inside, which instantly illuminated the space within. The system announced again, minor dog-headed person, common level 5, vitality 120, attack power 30, defense 6, skills mining smashing. He quietly reassured himself. The minor dog-headed person appeared, and the fire inside suddenly flared up, casting a bright red light around. The pack of zombie desert wolves roared and charged like a sandstorm. Lamu shot forward, killing them without leaving a single dog-headed miner alive, who fiercely brandished their weapons, baring their fangs and howling as they charged into attack. He plunged into the midst of the swarm of blades, swinging his weapon repeatedly, each slash tearing through the air, cutting them down. The dog-headed miners were eliminated, and they roared in unison, rushing forward. The weapon struck straight into the ranks of the undead desert wolves, activating the demolition skill on the other side. Lamu decisively dealt with several dog-headed miners, eliminating them in just a few moves. The dog-headed miners were no stronger than 8. Their combat power was weak. The important point was to avoid their axes. Even after taking down many, they continued to appear, the dog-headed miners raising their weapons and howling as they charged. A smile briefly appeared on his lips as he stealthily activated the stealth skill. The axes of the miners struck the air, embedding deeply into the ground, causing water to spout up in a spray. From behind, Lamu suddenly appeared, emanating a chilling aura. "Fools, I'm right here!" They hadn't even turned around when the blade flashed, instantly severing them. Blood splattered as he eliminated 20 dog-headed miners, landing firmly on a large rock. His cold gaze looked down below as he heard the sound from the system panel. Lamu merely smiled faintly. The level 1 black iron stealth skill was effective. Entering stealth mode lasted 5 seconds, consuming 10 mana with a 3-minute cooldown. Mastering 5 out of 100, he thought to himself that mastering the stealth skill had indeed been refreshed. In that moment, Lamu deep red eyes gleamed, but the attributes of these common dog-headed miners were still too weak. Leveling up was too slow for them. In front of them, a dark aura radiated, staring at him intently as if waiting for a command. The system immediately began the process of examining the common dog-headed miner undead. Level 15, health 120, attack 30, defense not recorded, skill mining, demolishing the undead body, causing damage not exceeding 5% of the target's health when attacking them. The sword in Lamu hand slowly rose, pointing straight ahead. "You all must replace the undead wolves. We need to find the boss here quickly." He walked slowly with them through the mist, gradually advancing deeper into the mountain. Suddenly, Lamu footsteps halted in the quiet mountain path. In front of him were intersecting paths opening up. It was like a maze deep within the mountain, branching off. The corner of Lamu eye twitched as he glanced quickly to the side. On the rocky surface, something was subtly moving, making an annoying rustling sound. His lips moved slightly, and a blue flame immediately appeared in his hand. Burning brightly, "I've found you." Lamu shot the flame like a bolt of lightning, leaving a trail of blue light in the air, eliminating 2 mud slimes and gaining 4 experience points. His red eyes glimmered in the darkness. Staring at him without blinking, several shadows suddenly lunged out from the darkness. They were the dog-headed foreman with glowing red eyes, wielding a whip to strike the elite dog-headed miner. Level 6, health 350, attack 100, defense 10, skill mining, whip striking. The wolf dog howled and lunged, biting down on the struggling bird. Since ancient times, the strong have preyed on the weak. It is an unchanging law of survival. In nature, it is a link in the food chain. Predators are also prey. However, behind a snake, a cold pair of eyes silently watched. The snake opened its mouth wide, its shiny fangs lunging straight ahead. Danger lurked in every corner as the foreman struck fiercely with the whip. Dust immediately swirled up, obscuring the figure inside. In an instant, the wolf lunged back its fangs, sinking deep into the snake's neck. However, predators sometimes appear in the form of prey. Lamu's red eyes suddenly shone, exuding a chilling aura just at this moment. In the thick smoke, he reached out to grab the whip that was lashing towards him, holding it tightly to prevent it from moving. His 5 fingers tightened, producing a chilling crack as he caught it. Then he suddenly yanked the chain, pulling the dog-headed foreman forward. It was thrown far away, crashing hard against the ground. The dog-headed foreman got up, letting out a deafening roar, its eyes red with anger. But immediately after, a cold shadow swept past. The sword in Lamu's hand swung down, striking it hard. The gleaming steel shone through the dust, killing the dog-headed foreman instantly. It took a series of slashes, its body torn apart, collapsing to the ground. The massive body fell heavily, creating a resounding thud that echoed throughout the cave. He tilted his head slightly, glancing quickly behind him from the darkness as they suddenly surged out in numbers close to 100, their roars echoing as they all raised their heads and hissed aggressively. The foreman activated his whip skill, charging into a bloodthirsty state, increasing his attack speed by 40% and movement speed by 25%, maintained for 60 seconds. Amidst the fierce roars, Lamu stood still, his gaze calm. 40, no 50 of them, a very promising number. However, our formation was not lacking either. He raised his hand, mumbling a spell amidst the green smoke as the legion of zombies slowly emerged. "Come forth." Lamu slightly curled his lips coldly, observing the horde of monsters. He raised his hand to command them to charge forward, officially starting the battle as both sides rushed into a fierce clash. Each strike and roar made this place feel like a chaotic battlefield, the living dead and dire wolves howling, while the foreman, the dog-headed man, suddenly felt dizzy. Struck by the attack, the dog-headed man was thrown into a daze low on blood. Lamu-Yen's eyes suddenly flashed with a red light. This was the moment. The sword raised high, the steel blade gleaming, he commanded to kill. The system notification rang out along with the pile of their corpses scattered around. You have successfully killed the foreman, the dog-headed man, 5 times. You have successfully killed the foreman, the dog-headed man, 20 times. You have successfully killed the foreman, the dog-headed man, 10 times. You have successfully killed the foreman, the dog-headed man, 40 times. Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 6. They growled and threatened to advance. The zombie foreman, the dog-headed man, elite level 6 with 350 health points, 100 attack, and 80 defense. 10 skills excavated, whipping the undead body of the dog-headed foreman. They panicked and hurriedly fled. From afar, Lamu dashed forward like a lightning bolt. "Want to run, huh?" The sword in his hand swung down, slicing through them. "First, let's see what my sword can do." Suddenly, a projectile came crashing down on Lamu from above. The next strike was aimed directly at him. Lamu quickly dodged backward as the boss activated the heavy strike skill, the dog-headed leader roaring with anger. The dog-headed leader, level 7 with 1,000 health points, 150 attack, 80 defense, and the excavation heavy strike skill. He coldly snorted, "I've been waiting for you for a long time." The weapon collided, sparking a blinding flash of red light that illuminated the entire space. The hammer struck the rock wall with tremendous force, causing it to crack, leaving the dog-headed leader stunned. With his eyes fixed on the hammer lodged in the rock wall, Lamu seized the opportunity, charging forward with his sword like a flash. This was the moment. The sharp blade sliced toward its body but did no damage. The blade in his hand was knocked back by the strong blow, and Lamu leaped back, observing. Ready to defend against the next attack, it was no surprise that the leader's defense was formidable, yet it couldn't penetrate. In a fit of rage, the dog-headed leader pulled out a charm and roared. He suddenly stood still, eyes wide, staring ahead at Lamu, who was fixated on the giant hammer. Just about to hit him as the hammer descended, he suddenly leaped back, dust flying underfoot. Lamu used his foot to brace himself, preventing being thrown far away. He slightly bent forward, his gaze thoroughly assessing. Indeed, the leader's attack pattern was not monotonous like that of an elite monster. Overall, it was at least 2 to 3 times stronger than an elite monster. Green flames ignited at the tips of Lamu fingers, first creating distance to ensure continuous attacks. The zombies slowly advanced, encircling him, whipping and striking. The fierce wolves roared, and they all quickly retaliated, the boss launching a powerful attack. The strong strike activated double critical damage. He raised his hand forward, commanding decisively to go. They immediately charged in to tear apart the dog-headed leader. The zombie dire wolf roared, activating the group skill Wrath of the Immortal, increasing attack by 10%. Critical hit rate increased by 20%. Despite being knocked back, the zombies resolutely charged in to bite fiercely at the dog-headed leader, the Wrath of the Immortal, increasing attack by 10%. Critical hit rate increased by 20%. Its eyes were bloodshot, lightning erupted, striking down. The lightning tore through the air, yet the zombies clung tightly, refusing to let go. The dog-headed leader conjured a fireball in Lamu palm, activating the Soulfire magic skill. The fireball in his hand shot out, splitting into 10 smaller flames to attack it. If he remembered correctly, the dog-headed leader had very low magic resistance, reducing damage by 20 to 30. The dog-headed leader roared in pain, its mouth wide open, drool flying everywhere. With eyes filled with rage, the dog-headed leader lunged forward, swinging his powerful arm straight at Lamu. He smirked, his sharp gaze full of confidence. Activating the stealth skill, Lamu suddenly appeared behind it. "If you insist on coming to my door, I won't hold back anymore. You have sharp eyes to observe. Find the gap at the nape of the dog-headed leader. This is the spot where the flesh is unarmored." Lamu immediately aimed the sword precisely at the vulnerable point. With a sound of a stab, blood gushed from its nape. The dog-headed leader in pain rolled its eyes back. Excluding 100, it swung the hammer forcefully backward, the strike charging straight at you with terrifying power. Lamu quickly jumped back, snapping his fingers. With one foot, he soared into the air, leaping up to grasp the thick fur of the undead giant, soaring up and then descending. The sound was dry and harsh, as if tearing through space. The undead rushed forward to attack the dog-headed leader, but it swung the hammer up to counterattack. The armor was already breached. Lamu focused his strength, creating a series of circular blue flames. The next attack surged toward the dog-headed leader, smoke and fire erupting, dealing damage of 30-4, 40-10. It painfully raised its head and roared to the heavens. Suddenly, the dog-headed leader's minions rushed out from the darkness. Lamu snorted coldly. With sharp eyes, he watched the struggle before death. Both sides charged at each other, the sound of collision growling, and the system notification rang continuously. You have successfully killed the dog-headed leader, multiplied by 15. You have successfully killed the dog-headed overseer, multiplied by 10. You have successfully killed the dog-headed miner, multiplied by 20. You have successfully killed the dog-headed miner, multiplied by 35. The dog-headed leader realized the dangerous situation and tried to turn and flee, but you immediately blocked its path. Lamu body suddenly flashed with several bolts of blue lightning. His hand gripped the hilt of the sword. Wanting to run, Lamu slowly drew his sword, snorting coldly, leaving his life behind. He leaped into the air, the sword blade slicing straight into the dog-headed leader's body. With just one slash, its head was severed from its body, bright red blood spraying around. The massive body of the dog-headed leader fell to the ground, along with the sound of the system ringing out. You have successfully killed the dog-headed chief, gaining 50 experience. Lamu smiled and opened the system panel, congratulating himself on leveling up to level 7. He frowned, glancing around with a hint of satisfaction. Level 7 is very good. Player Lamu, level 7, profession Necromancer, Hunter, Forbidden Skill. Dark Summoning Realm, 20 out of 70 Strength. 27 Physique, 23, Speed 45, Spirit 20. 50 Experience, 168 out of 27,451. He couldn't help but ponder about reaching level 10 to the main city of the West Desert. Lamu turned his gaze to the two screens in front of him regarding the stealth and soul fire spells. Proficiency has been raised to level 2, doubling the effect of the soul fire spell. Dark Iron level 2, causing magical damage to targets multiplied by 200%. Consuming 10 mana cooldown of 10 seconds, proficiency 20 out of 200. The stealth spell Dark Iron level 2. Effect entering a stealth state lasting 10 seconds. Consuming 10 mana cooldown of 3 minutes, proficiency 10 out of 200. His gaze suddenly darted to the side as if he saw something. Lamu approached, and a strange banner appeared on it. It was a bronze banner. He stepped closer, paused for a moment, then reached out to slowly open the banner. As soon as the banner opened, a dazzling beam of light flashed, followed by countless gold coins flying out. The system immediately rang out, received an indestructible dogskin pouch phantom gauntlet. Opening the dogskin pouch, you receive 20 gold coins. I remember not long after the major global banks will open a channel for the circulation of money and goods between the game and reality. 20 gold coins can be exchanged for real money, which is 200,000. Not bad. The system immediately began to grade each item that just appeared. The indestructible effect can provide vision within a radius of 3 meters for players in dark environments without time restrictions. The skeletal mask bronze level weapon effect. After wearing it, it can reduce physical damage by 5%, add 10 strength, and add 10. Lamu reached out to take the glowing phantom gauntlet. The system immediately provided information about it. The phantom gauntlet's silver-level weapon effect is comparable to the body strength of the dog-headed leader defense, plus 30 attack, plus 30. He immediately equipped it. Fortunately, it wasn't bad in the bronze banner. Opening a silver-level weapon, the phantom gauntlet is comparable to the body strength of the dog-headed leader. It truly makes one eager to try it out near the dog-headed leader's cave. Their corpses lay scattered on the ground. The Blood Oath Guild leader Huan Fai, long level 8 warrior profession, stood on a high rock, throwing his weapon into the air. It seems that the recent training effects are indeed not bad. In just 1 minute, we have killed 30 desert demon wolves. He laughed coldly. As long as we work together, nothing is impossible. The Blood Oath Guild Vice President Huan Fai, Ho level 5, rogue profession, the crowd standing by, kept flattering him. Truly, he is the president and vice president. The Blood Oath Guild's Vice President Huan Fai, a thief of level 5, stood by as the crowd continuously flattered him. Truly, he was worthy of being the president and vice president. One hit kills many rampaging demons. Indeed, their strength is extraordinary. Meeting the mixed fish of the Lightning Guild again, they can surely kill them without leaving a trace. The flying tiger snorted coldly. If it weren't for that Lin Yuan who suddenly appeared from nowhere a while ago. We have already obtained the boss world's corpse. What guild would dare to jump in front of us? On the large screen set up in the desert, the system's voice announced that the world boss, the giant wolf, has been killed by the player Lin Yuan. After hearing this, they were all astonished. What? He smirked, his eyes revealing disdain. I wonder what luck that guy has. If I meet him, let's see if I don't take all his colors away. The flying dragon glanced back, reminding the flying tiger. How many times have I told you? Don't act rashly. He frowned, assessing Lin Yuan's strength, which is not ordinary. Instead of opposing him, we might as well pull him to fight for us, the flying dragon said and slowly walked forward. I remember there's a quest recently. I'll go confirm the location first. You all stay put and wait for the stamina recovery order. The guy beside him nodded. On the contrary, he darkened his face, staring angrily at his back. Big brother, that stray dog has cursed me 3 times already. Damn it, I can't stand it. The flying tiger couldn't take it anymore, pointing and shouting. Lin Yuan, just wait. One day I'll pull out all your dog teeth in front of Big Brother. I'll chop off your dog head for Big Brother to see who the real strong one is. The tiger god's cheeks flushed, looking embarrassed. Vice Guildmaster, don't get angry over such unworthy things. What is that? He suspiciously looked in the direction the boy pointed. The flying tiger saw in the distance a figure approaching a girl with blonde hair dressed like a witch. His gaze and that of his subordinates behind him immediately turned greedy, grinning wickedly. On the other side, Lin Yuan walked aimlessly, his gaze momentarily distant as he took a few steps. The system's voice rang out. Zombie leader, dog-headed man, level 7, life 1000, attack 150, defense 80, skill, zombie body slam. The body slam upon hitting deals 200% of the attack stat as damage to the target's life with a 10% chance of critical hit. He was satisfied to have added another level leader zombie. With considerable combat power, the number of undead beasts in the underworld has been replenished to 70. Let's keep up this pace. Lin Yuan coldly glanced, hearing someone shout, "Don't come over here!" Over here, her body was full of injuries, trembling. "Don't come over here or I won't be polite." He smirked wickedly, stepping closer, feeling quite pleased. I didn't expect to meet such a cute girl today. The flying tiger, standing beside, laughed along. Don't worry, just playing with her. Rather than suffering, it's better to enjoy it. The tiger god nodded. Exactly as long as we satisfy our vice guild master, there will be plenty of benefits. The air howled as he approached. I won't be polite anymore. He didn't hesitate to rush like the wind, kicking her, causing a Mai to cry out in pain. Let me see who's not polite. The flying tiger grabbed her hair, sneering. A useless mage thinking she can hurt us. He pinned a Mai down to the ground, his gaze greedy. Don't be naive. If you don't give up, just keep trying. The flying tiger opened his mouth wide, gripping her head, forcing a Mai to look straight at him. Come on, keep going. The more you resist, the more excited I get. The flying tiger tore a Mai's clothes, making her scream in terror. Suddenly, a powerful punch struck his face. The punch was hauntingly tight. Then it delivered a strong blow that sent the flying tiger flying back, his body soaring without stopping. Dust filled the air when the subordinates witnessed the punch, horrified, their faces pale. Vice Guild Master the flying tiger was knocked down to the ground, creating deep ruts on the surface. His face was so impacted it was deeply sunken, his body pressed against the rock. The one who delivered the blow was Lin Yuan. His gaze sharp, the effect was better than expected. One of the henchmen, disregarding life and death, panicked and turned to run, reporting that things were not right, and they had to find a way to inform the guild leader. The other two slowly regained their composure, filled with tension. Pointing directly at Lamu Yen's face, he said, Who are you to dare offend the Blood Oath Guild? You're dead for sure. He pulled back his cloak, coldly staring at them. Lamu Yen looked at the emblem on their chests, the Blood Oath Guild, an ancient and immortal guild that was the leader of the new player village in the Black Family Town. He stood silently, his gaze contemplative. Most guild members were red-named players known for committing evil and dangerous acts. The so-called red-named players were those identified by the system as dangerous criminals with a crime score of 10 or higher, such as malicious attacks, theft, and robbery, which marked them as dangerous players. Lamu Yen pursed his lips, although the love god had not yet invaded. Being defeated as a player would not cause actual death in real life, but losing equipment and decreasing levels would still be a significant loss for the player. At that moment, he slowly opened his mouth, his voice cold. "You are members of the Blood Oath Guild, right?" In his previous life, these rats had already caused him quite a bit of trouble. The prince behind him raised an eyebrow in doubt while Ho Than confidently stood up, pointing at himself. "That's right. This is the #1 guild famous throughout the Black Sand Town. You have offended our vice president, and now you know fear, right?" He paused for a moment, rolled up his sleeves, and was about to charge in for an attack. But if they didn't want to die a miserable death, the two of them smiled mockingly, seemingly confident they could defeat Lamu. "You should break both your arms and kneel like a dog, calling out a few times, 'Grandpa.'" In an instant, he decisively lunged forward, the blade slicing straight toward the two arrogant ones, their arms severed. They fell to the ground in pain, crying out, "Genie, my arm! Your barking should be saved for the road to the underworld." Mai finally stood up, looking dazed. On the other side, Fai Ho lay on the ground, unable to move. His hand trembled slightly. A vial of potion fell out. "You have used the life recovery water, restoring 20% of life and mana." Fai Ho gritted his teeth, his face twisted in pain. After drinking, his body surged with energy as he stood up. "You must die." Fai Long slowly walked toward them. "I want to see who has the guts." Not wanting to live anymore, the henchman immediately squealed, "The guild leader is ahead." The two turned in shock at the sound, and he pointed at Lam Uyen, shouting, "It's this brat who almost killed the vice president," he greeted loudly. Fai Long, who was about to show his strength, suddenly halted. "Wait," he noticed the look in Lam Uyen's eyes. The indifferent gaze was cold and imposing, like the moonlight crystallizing into a glimmering, sharp light that could cut through everything. In Fai Long's eyes at that moment, he was no different from a monster, radiating an overwhelming aura just by standing there. It made people feel extremely suffocated. While he was still in shock, the henchman, oblivious to life and death, shouted, "Guild leader, quickly give this brat some color to see." "You blind dog dare to provoke us? Damn it, you want to die, don't you?" "You wait to die." Fai Long gritted his teeth, hesitating. "Damn it, this aura combined with the sword could very well be a boss-level monster. This brat is definitely Lam Uyen." At this moment, he was pondering, not daring to take risks. These foolish ones should not provoke anyone. Yet they dared to provoke him, truly a case of success not guaranteed and failure guaranteed. Meanwhile, the henchmen behind were still clamoring, "You're dead for sure." "You wait to die?" He slowly spoke. "You are the leader of the Blood Oath Guild." Inside, Fai Long was caught in a dilemma, so he did not respond, as he could not afford to lose face. After thinking for a while, he made up his mind that today's battle was unavoidable. Suddenly, from behind Lam Uyen, another guy rushed in, and Amai, startled, immediately stepped in to shield him, careful of what was behind. Fai Ho roared, arms wide, tightly gripping his dual swords. "Die for me!" He charged forward, madly wanting revenge. Fai Long, on this side, also gleefully swung his axe, saying, "You kid, opposing our Blood Crow Guild is the most foolish decision of your life." He thought to himself, the opportunity has come. Immediately, Fai Long and Fai Ho charged from both sides, aiming straight at the two. Just as they were about to succeed in closing in, he suddenly hesitated, seeing something at the previous position. Amai had been replaced by the zombie leader with a dog head. It saw the enemy and bared its fangs, roaring as it quickly swung its weapon using that giant hammer. It struck hard at his abdomen. Fai Ho, caught off guard, was immediately knocked back several meters. Lam Uyen seized the opportunity and rushed in, closing the distance. To his astonishment, he coldly declared the sentence, "You're next." Fai Long was so stunned that he could only stand frozen in place, not waiting for him to utter a word. Lam Uyen swung his sword, slicing a long path, and Fai Long died tragically on the ground. He, with no emotion, glanced at his corpse, the #1 attack guild. "Not even worthy of my seriousness. The system suddenly displayed a warning checking that you have killed a human player. Crime index +2 points." After reading this, Lam Uyen felt a little itchy. 2 points he was not worried at all, calculating that as long as he didn't continue to accumulate within a week, it would surely disappear automatically. Amai in the distance, suddenly startled, shouting loudly, "Not good, they are running away, should we chase them?" Lam Uyen calmly reassured her, "Just some random fish." No need to say more. He turned and walked towards the corpse of Fai Ho. The weapons that had fallen after the earlier battle included Fai Long's dual-headed axe, the violent battle emblem. The white-silver weapon type effectively hits the target, releasing a strong explosion, causing area damage to the target and surrounding enemies' attack +40. Strength +30 next is his dual swords, long NHA 10, self-absorbing white-silver weapon type effectively hits the target, releasing fire that will cling to the target, causing continuous burning damage, speed +30, attack +40. Finally, a compact dagger, the thorny copper dagger weapon type, effectively attack plus 15, speed plus 20. Lamu Yen rested his chin examining these items. Their attributes were not bad. Even if he didn't use them, they could still be sold for a good price. When everything was settled, Amai cautiously approached him. She gratefully spoke, "Thank you for saving me today." Amai's voice was somewhat sincere. "I still don't know your name." Her sudden closeness made Lam Uyen freeze. He turned away, his lips slightly moving. "Name." Lam Uyen raised an eyebrow. "One day you'll see my name at the top of the global power rankings top 10. Hearing this, Amai was so shocked she stood frozen. Top 10. She quickly regained her composure and hurriedly followed him. "Who wants to see that torn ranking board? Great God, please lead the way." Lamu Yen quickly arrived at the Aihao Desert at this moment. Behind him suddenly appeared a sturdy set of scales from a monster. They were level 6 Aihao scorpions with 400 health, 110 attack, 20 defense, and the skill Thunderstrike, which paralyzes. At that moment in front of Lam Uyen, there were not just one, but 3 of them at the same time. He quickly reacted, crouching low into a stance. Lam Uyen only needed a few sword strikes. He easily sent them back to the West Heaven. His brows furrowed his gaze, cold as if he wanted to kill them all. Lam Uyen continued to spin 360 degrees, sweeping through the group of Aihao scorpions. The system displayed a notification. This area has eliminated a total of 60 Aihao scorpions. Level increased to level 8. After reading the system board, he was satisfied, smirking straight to level 8. Although collecting paralysis grass was a bit troublesome, it was still considered a pleasant surprise. The scene shifted to 2 days ago when Lam Uyen had a meeting with an old man. The old man with a serious face extended his hand to start a conversation. "Old man Dung. Finally, we have been waiting for you." The system immediately displayed a notification detecting a quest commission from the alchemist, IMO, asking if you want to accept the task of collecting 100 paralyzed herbs in the desert and delivering them to IMO. The quest deadline is 1 day, and the paralyzed herb is a type of medicinal plant with lightning attributes that grows in the desert. After reading it, Lam Uyen pondered for several minutes. After a certain period, a special dungeon will be opened in the main city area filled with lightning attribute monsters. To pass the level, one must have extremely high lightning resistance. Therefore, the strong electric resistance potion that can withstand lightning will become scarce with a value that could exceed 10,000 gold. In a previous life, someone made a huge profit because of it. Completing the task of collecting paralyzed herbs this time will reward you with the formula for crafting a highly effective electric resistance potion. He continued to glance at the old man. Today is the first day IMO comes to the Black Sand Town after completing this task. He will also retreat to live in seclusion forever. In other words, this is the only opportunity for players to obtain this formula. The only opportunity. Thinking of this, Lam Uyen did not hesitate to choose the option to return to the present. After dealing with the scorpions, he boldly stepped on their corpses. The scorpion, a level 6 lightning beast guarding the paralyzed herbs, posed no threat to his current strength, and Lam Uyen approached successfully without difficulty. The herbs were successfully collected, and he also practiced his gathering skill to become proficient. He used his hands to collect them, and the system simultaneously displayed. Gathering skill level 2. Increasing gathering speed by 5% with a chance to collect rare quality herbs, consuming 1 spirit point with a 3-second cooldown proficiency, 120 out of 200. Once done, Lam Uyen stood up and observed what was inside. Suddenly, the ground where he was standing shook continuously. Lam Uyen was astonished and a bit confused. A monster had just emerged from beneath the ground. It used its sharp head to attack him. Lam Uyen quickly dodged and managed to escape a fatal blow, retreating a few meters to keep his distance from the monster. Lam Uyen's eyes suddenly became panicked, stunned. Before him was a mutated monster, the crystal scorpion, with its appearance accompanied by a series of danger warnings. Lam Uyen was horrified, exclaiming that he never expected a mutated beast to appear here. Above its head was a mass of information crystal scorpion level 10, health 2,800, attack 400, defense 55, skills include paralyzed, lightning strike, penetrating poison, and ground tear. After a moment, the electric crystal regained its composure and smiled faintly, saying that while it was a bit difficult to deal with, now Lam Uyen was excited to charge forward. But today I will use you to officially sharpen my silver blade. He used his lightning-fast speed to successfully approach the crystal scorpion. Lam Uyen's sword continuously struck its shell, but had no effect. Seeing this, he fell silent, contemplating the tight armor with no gaps to penetrate. At this moment, the entire body of the crystal scorpion suddenly emitted a blue light, and the system quickly warned that the boss was about to use the skill Paralyzed Lightning Strike. Lam Uyen gritted his teeth. Putting all his strength into thrusting the sword through the shell was the lightning strike. However, it did not wait for him to execute his plan and stabbed its tail at him using the skill-penetrating poison. Lam Uyen reacted quickly and successfully dodged this attack. He retreated a bit, swinging his sword. Lam Uyen frowned, assessing that its strength exceeded his expectations. He must first disperse its combat power. The crystal scorpion was also charging at him, so he activated his ability and shouted, "Summon the dog-headed people here!" Immediately, a group of dog-headed people rushed out. The dog-headed person swung a hammer in hand, landing a blow that caused the crystal scorpion to lose 200 health. Lam Uyen quietly observed, not activating the double attack yet. It suddenly went wild, throwing several dog-headed people away while the boss was about to unleash its skills. Before the crystal scorpion could cause chaos, he summoned several fireballs which rushed to attack, causing it pain and leaving it unable to dodge. Lam Uyen excitedly unleashed a series of test attacks with his upgraded fire magic. The assassin scorpion was gradually losing health, continuously losing 40 to 50 points. He lifted his mouth to smile coldly, his hands still casting magic power, causing a thread to quickly appear and wrap around its claw. The assassin scorpion thrashed and screamed as a group of dog-headed people pulled it tight, binding it. One dog-headed person took the opportunity to swing a hammer straight at it, delivering a powerful blow to the assassin scorpion's head. Immediately, the stats appeared, deducting 200 points, triggering a double critical hit. Lam Uyen was also surprised to see the double critical hit occur. The assassin scorpion roared in pain and broke free from its bindings. It realized it had to attack him first, but before it could do so, Lam Uyen had already run away. He hovered in midair, leaving the assassin scorpion astonished. Lam Uyen tightened his fist. A stream of magic power quickly surged forth, leaving no gaps to break through its armor. The system simultaneously displayed that the player had equipped the title Hunter of the Undead, increasing attack power by 10%, critical hit rate by 10%, and magical damage by 10%. Without hesitation, he clenched his fist and charged forward, declaring that he would smash your entire body, turning you into a pile of scrap. The assassin scorpion was unaware that death was approaching. It continued to roar to intimidate, but soon after it was slammed into the ground by Lam Uyen, turning its body into a mess of broken bones and flesh. The assassin scorpion was pressed hard against the ground, immediately howling in agony. Without delay, he drew his sword and completed the kill. You have successfully defeated the mutated beast, the assassin scorpion. The system quickly displayed information awarding 560 experience points and the corpse of the level 10 assassin scorpion. 2,800 attack, 400 defense, 55 skills, Thunderstrike, Paralyze, Poison, Piercing, Earthquake, Thunderstorm, Glass Body, Undead. Thunderstrike, Paralyze, attacking with lightning with a paralyzing effect for 1 second. The Piercing Poison attacks with its tail, inflicting 10 points of poison damage. After hitting it, deals 250% of attack power as damage to the target's health. The Glass Thunderstorm shoots crystal shards around in a 360-degree radius, dealing 100% of attack power as damage to the target. Suddenly, from afar, a swarm of scorpions rushed towards them. The noise startled Lam Uyen, who turned his head to see a group of scorpions charging towards him, heading straight for where he was standing. Lam Uyen slowly glanced at the approaching scorpions at just the right moment. He adjusted his skills and commanded the assassin scorpion from earlier to move. Let me use my newly tamed pet to play with you a bit. The system displayed the use of the Glass Thunderstorm skill. A series of attacks significantly reduced the health of the scorpions. They were deducted significantly, losing 50 to 60 points. Seizing the opportunity, Lam Uyen quickly moved behind them, slashing a few times, causing the scorpions to split into many pieces. Striking their weak points, it quickly became the last one to fall under Lam Uyen's hands. On the ground lay a pile of scorpion corpses, and the system continuously announced level-ups. Congratulations, you have reached level 10. The stats panel also displayed player Lam Uyen at level 10 profession Undead Hunter Forbidden Talent Summon Dark Portal. 20 out of 100 Strength, 32 Physique, 28 Agility, 47 Spirit, 53 Experience, 152 out of 5,159. After reading, he felt satisfied. Leveling up twice was quite good. The system began to reward Lam Uyen with a silver-level weapon, Thunder Spear Guardian's Ring causing paralysis, and a bow that could stun. He silently calculated. The loot in Yang was also silver-level weapons. Selling off a few items should be enough to improve his parents' lives. Lam Uyen turned to look at the pile of scorpion corpses scattered on the ground. The system announced that all monsters in this area had been eliminated. Congratulations, you have received a gold-level skill book exclusive to your profession. Around his body, a stream of light began to appear. Lamu Yen looked at the book gradually appearing in his hand. This was it. Just as he thought, the system introduced the Gold Dark Curse with learning conditions only for undead hunters. He placed his hand on it, feeling the book, and sighed at his good fortune. As Lamu Yen cast his magic to use the book, the system simultaneously displayed that the skill book was automatically memorized in the player's memory. Congratulations, player. You have acquired the exclusive skill of the Undead Hunter. A dazzling pillar of light now surrounded him, and the system displayed the Dark Curse. Gold Dark Curse Level 1 effect deals 20% damage to the target's health or restores 20% health to the corpse, consuming 100 mana cooldown time, 10 seconds proficiency not exceeding 100. Lamu Yen looked at the flame glowing in his hand with curiosity, restoring 20% of the life value to the undead. An idea suddenly sparked in his mind as he turned around. In front of Lamu Yen was the Assassin Scorpion with 60% health. Without hesitation, he decided to give it a try. The flame quickly rushed towards the Assassin Scorpion, and immediately it seemed to revive its life, excitedly howling as the life value above the Assassin Scorpion showed it had recovered to 80%. At that moment, Lam Uyen nodded in satisfaction, starting to conclude that it was time to head to the main city, where the wind blew the sand to find the first believer. Suddenly, an unidentified object appeared behind him, quietly touching Lam Uyen's shoulder, causing him to turn around in surprise. Wait, could it be? The scene shifted outside, and the unidentified object turned out to be Mrs. Lam, who panikedly patted his shoulder, saying it was not good. Uyen, your father just hurt his back. Hurry over here to help." Lam Uyen quickly ran down to help Mr. Lam sit in a chair, saying to take it slow. Mrs. Lam helplessly scolded him, saying he was old, and why was he still trying to fix the air conditioner without being careful? Wouldn't it be better to call someone to do it? Now look, he really hurt his back, didn't he? Meanwhile, Mr. Lam was in so much pain that he was shaking. Although he was pale from the pain, he still kept quiet, saying if it could be saved, then save it. "Last week when the washing machine broke, didn't I just do a simple fix and it was done?" Mr. Lam continued, saying this little injury was nothing, just sleep it off, and it would be fine. "Tomorrow I still have to go to school to pick up Zhao Dan." He said nothing and quietly stepped outside while Lam Uyen bit his lip and said nothing. Time passed until the next day. While he was still sound asleep in bed, Mrs. Lam was awakened and helped Mr. Lam up towards the door. Uyen, is that you? Why are you making such a fuss so early?" In front of them were two workers assembling a television on the wall, one of whom suddenly approached to start a conversation. This startled Mr. and Mrs. Lam, asking if they were Mr. Lam and Mrs. Lam. "The new product that Mr. Lam Uyen ordered has been quickly brought here for installation. Please confirm and accept it for us." She was astonished, pinching her cheek, saying, "Hello, old Lam, am I dreaming? What is going on here?" Meanwhile, he was diligently training in the gym, and while Lam Uyen was busy running, a voice suddenly interrupted him. The gym staff approached and asked, "May I ask if you would like to register for the VIP package? We need to temporarily hold the amount for 1 year." Upon hearing this, he took out his bank card, thinking to himself about selling some unused equipment. After renovating the house, he thought it would be convenient to also get a family gym membership. He thought about it, and his expression darkened. After all, his parents and Zhao Dan should exercise early, so that later, when they enter the immortal state, it would be easier to adapt. Meanwhile, she was still dazed about Lam Uyen, wondering how this guest could train for so long without getting red in the face. Not even out of breath, and his physique was very nice too, a brother worth admiring, huh? The gym staff suddenly froze, looking at the card in her hand. The highest VIP card was only issued when there was more than 5 million yuan deposited in the bank. He seemed not to notice her gaze and turned to pick up the phone, saying, "Hello, yes." That was a bonus from the previous game competition. "Yes, today you two just rest at home. Leave Zhao Dan's matters to me." The gym staff, upon hearing this, looked increasingly infatuated. This guest was still very young, huh? Amazing. The scene shifted again to middle school number 1. As soon as the bell rang, a group of students rushed out of school. "Let's go to the internet cafe next door and form a team to play a match." And here I am, a figure slowly stepping out from inside, while Lam Dan's eyes are constantly looking around. Behind her are 2 other classmates chatting. "Wait, come to my house today. I'm celebrating my brother's birthday, and I bought my favorite strawberry cake." "Wow, having a brother is so great. I'm so jealous. I also want a brother." Hearing that, Lam Dan's expression darkened. Is having a brother really something to admire? Memories of Lam Uyen in a disheveled state gradually appeared in her mind. Thinking of this, Lam Dan felt uncomfortable and walked faster. I don't need a brother. Just a few steps later, she was blocked by a guy. The school beauty Lam is so arrogant. 4 guys who look like troublemakers appeared. How many times have we invited them, but they still won't come? What else? This time I personally came to invite you. Can't you show a little respect? Lam Dan frowned, annoyed, questioning, what do you want? Her 2 classmates hesitated to approach the class leader. Who are they? Andung, taking advantage of the situation, stepped closer to tease Lam Dan. Your skin is so soft and smooth. Let me see if I can squeeze some juice out of you. She immediately got angry and pushed his hand away. Damn it, don't touch me, get lost. Lam Dan pointed at them and threatened, if you keep bothering me, I'll call the police. Seeing this, Andung rushed over and hit her hard on the back. Damn it, how ungrateful! Lam Dan was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Her 2 classmates were immediately startled. Class leader. He still didn't know when to stop and wanted to keep hitting her, continuously spouting filthy words. Touching you means I'm valuing you. Pretending to be so noble, huh? She couldn't fight back, so she could only raise her hands to shield herself. At a crucial moment, a hand suddenly appeared and grabbed Andung's hand. Lam Dan was stunned, her eyes wide open in surprise. Lam Uyen looked at him with a murderous gaze. Who do you think you are to bully my sister? She was astonished, calling her brother's name. Lam Uyen had just seen the bruise on Lam Dan's face. His expression turned even uglier. Andung was stopped and angrily wanted to hit back. Damn it, where did this wild dog come from? The other guys also rushed over to help. If I don't knock out all your teeth today, I won't carry your last name. Stop talking and break his arm first. But right after that, Lam Uyen leaned in and punched the first guy in the face. Very quickly, it was the second guy's turn to be dealt with, and he swiftly turned his hips to kick the third guy in the head. Finally, Lam Uyen mercilessly kicked Andung in the face. He was so furious that he kept stomping down on his face until he was done. The 4 guys could only lie on the ground crying in pain under everyone's gaze. Lam Uyen turned to signal her to leave. Meanwhile, Lam Dan and her friend were still wide-eyed in shock. The 2 gradually walked outside. On the way home, she hesitated to speak first. Why did you come here today? Lam Dan's heart was filled with confusion. This guy who always had his head buried in games, why did he come to pick me up from school today? Lam Uyen, with a blank expression, explained, Dad has a backache and Mom is at home taking care of him. Hearing this, she was startled. Lam Dan turned around in panic. He has a backache. Is it serious? Calm down, it's not too serious. As soon as Lam Uyen finished answering, the atmosphere returned to silence. Her gaze began to waver. It feels like a long time has passed. He calmly reassured, it's not that serious. As soon as Lam Uyen finished speaking, the atmosphere returned to silence. Her gaze began to show signs of fluctuation. It feels like it's been a long time. Don't talk to him like that, it's too embarrassing. He doesn't show any surprise expression over here, while behind him 2 girls are waving their hands, calling the class leader. Those 2 girls moved closer to Lam Dan and continuously whispered, Class leader, your brother is so nice, he even comes to pick you up at home, unlike my lazy brother. That's right, so you have a brother who is both handsome and talented. Why have I never heard you mention him before? She was just surprised and observed Lam Uyen more closely. This handsome guy, while someone passed by and quietly exclaimed, Who is he? So handsome. It seems like he is a former student returning to school, right? He looks much more stylish than the boys in school. Lam Dan quietly observed the expressions of those around him. His popularity is so high, suddenly a girl ran over to start a conversation. Hello, sir. Lam Uyen politely replied, Hello. She suddenly pouted. Your height is also impressive, isn't it? I never noticed before, maybe because I wasn't standing close enough to see clearly. Lam Dan was lost in thought. He must have started working out a long time ago. Seeing his clearly defined muscles, it's surprising that he became so strong after just a fight. It's truly a surprise. She remembered how he looked before. Clearly it was the same person. At that time, Lam Uyen looked messy and casual, only focused on gaming. Thinking of this, Lam Dan pondered, why does it feel like he has changed so much? Lam Dan's 2 friends waved goodbye. See you tomorrow. She smiled, see you tomorrow. But right after turning away, Lam Dan stood there in a daze, her eyes wide open, only to see Lam Uyen crouching down, intending to carry her, causing her friends behind to cheer. Lam Dan blushed, flustered, and quickly waved her hands to refuse. I can walk by myself, what the heck is this? I don't want to be carried on your back in front of so many people. But before she could step away, she was suddenly pulled back with a strong force, causing Lam Dan to stumble. Lam Uyen decisively bent down, reached out to pull her back, and lifted her onto his back, regardless of Lam Dan's struggles. Brother Lam Uyen stood up with a calm, indifferent expression. "Classmates have left. If you can't walk, don't force yourself." His gaze lightly stopped at her ankle. "The wound is still bleeding. You fell earlier and sprained it, right?" Lam Dan fell silent, no longer struggling, just slightly lowering her head. "When did he notice?" Lam Uyen quietly carried her home. "We're back," she said. "Dad, Mom?" The two exchanged confused glances. Mr. Lam glanced at her slowly, then turned to observe. "It's good that you two are back. I'll go into the kitchen and start washing the dishes piled up in the sink." Mrs. Lam sat behind, proudly hugging her cheeks, watching her son. Is he now like a different person? He rubbed his chin, evaluating. That's right, he knows how to cook, wash dishes, and even replace the electrical appliances in the house. After hearing this, Lam Dan could only twitch the corners of her mouth. She sat closer to him and whispered, "Their sibling relationship is just like when they were kids. Even better, actually." Lam Dan held a glass of water, almost choking without drinking it. "Is something wrong?" She gently blew on the water to cool it down, her gaze unconsciously thoughtful. "This guy is really strange. Has he really changed?" Lam Uyen stood in the kitchen wearing a neat apron, having finished tidying up. After finishing his words, he coldly took off the apron. "You can go to your room first." Lam Uyen gently closed the door, and Lam Dan unconsciously glanced at her, suddenly feeling a bit sad. What was he hoping for? Indeed, he was still a gaming addict, neglecting his responsibilities. Lost in thought, Lam Dan suddenly noticed a bottle of medicine placed in front of him. After handing it over, he turned to leave, not forgetting to remind her. "Use this after showering. It's very effective, sister." After saying that, Lam Uyen walked into the room, preparing to close the door. He was going to play games. "If there's nothing going on, don't enter his room." She didn't respond. Lam Uyen just tightened his grip on the medicine bottle. Lam Dan's cheeks turned slightly red as she smiled gently. "I know no one wants to enter his room anyway." Her gaze lingered on the medicine bottle, a faint smile passing her lips. Inside the room, he sighed upon hearing what Mrs. Lam said to Lam Dan. "See, Mom said it already. The relationship between the two of you is already good. What happened at school today?" "Nothing at all, Mom. I went to shower first." Lam Uyen sighed, leaning back in his chair. Family matters might finally come to an end. He rubbed his head, turned to look at the hat beside him, and without hesitation, Lam Uyen put it on his head. "Then let's return to the game." He entered the game, landing in a cloud of smoke. In the Lord's domain, Lam Uyen smirked, ready to catch that mouse. A notification frame from the system suddenly lit up before him. "You have entered the Lord's domain." Somewhere else, a man was forcefully thrown to the ground. "Sir, I swear to the heavens. This is just a misunderstanding." He let out a hoarse shout. "Shut your mouth and take your filthy lies to prison and repent." Lam Uyen's figure gradually emerged from the mist. The officer glanced back suspiciously, but saw no one. He squinted, a hint of strange suspicion crossing his face. An illusion. He calmly hid behind the wall, not rushing to act. Lam Uyen's face was expressionless, but his deep-set eyes concealed contemplation. The patrolling soldiers on the street were very sensitive to crime. Calculating the necessary time for the crime value to reset to 0, it would take at least 3 days of hiding. He quietly turned and walked away. "It's time to collect it. It's been a while since I last saw you, old friend." The scene shifted to a magnificent cathedral from the highest steps of Father Laurent's cathedral. Spreading his arms, he blessed in the name of the Lord. "I cleanse your past fog. From now on, your soul will be as pure as fresh snow, and your path will be guided by holy light. Now I will perform the cleansing ceremony for you." Just as the ceremony was about to commence, Lam Uyen slowly appeared. "I come from the poorhouse," and his gaze slowly shifted. Containing suspicion mixed with vigilance, seeing that Laurent remained silent, he spoke in a low voice. "I heard that someone with a serious illness is being received here, so I came to treat him. At the wooden door in a corner that was closing, 'Dear Victor, regarding your illness, may I trouble you?' he replied. On the bed, he lay motionless, his face unusually haggard with a dark green liquid oozing from his chest. He was once a member of the Scorpion Tail Lion Knight Order, and one of the strongest knights in the ancient West Desert Kingdom. Lam Uyen recalled memories of the Scorpion Tail Lion Knight Order from his previous life. "When I just reached level 15, thanks to him, I obtained a golden weapon." He frowned, looking at that pale face. "Sir, I came specifically to treat the poison in your body." Beneath the pale skin, blue veins stood out on his forehead. He focused on Lam Uyen, assessing his strength. Level 10, he struggled to sit up the corners of his mouth, curling into a self-deprecating smile. Just relying on you, a level 10 mage. The patrolling soldiers on the street are even higher level than you. Just after saying that, a violent cough hit him. He bent over, spitting out thick black blood. Amidst the thick black blood, a strange object was also expelled. The toxins in his body have begun to corrode his internal organs. Unless you accept my treatment method, he glanced over, his low voice resonating. Otherwise, you won't live through a month. After a moment of contemplation, he raised his head and whispered, "To detoxify my body, I need 1,000 grams of rotten fish fat. If you're not afraid of dying, go to the Gobi mud and try it." Just as he finished speaking, the system's voice echoed. "The system you activated has requested a mission. Do you accept it? The mission request is for a gold tier task: collect 11,000 grams of rotten fish oil to treat toxins in the body." Seeing this, Lamu was not afraid at all. He just smirked and agreed, of course. The scene shifts to the muddy Gobi region where the rotten fish slowly surface in the murky water, floating alongside several pale skulls with their red eyes moving slowly. The gaze was like a knife cutting through right after that. The rotten fish opened its large mouth full of sharp teeth and attacked the group of people. Rotten fish level 15 with 3,500 health points, 500 attack, 45 defense, and the skill Wave Surge Tail. Min tightened his grip on his weapon and charged forward. "Remember to stay steady. These beasts have sharp teeth. 1,000 times, don't let them bite." Charging forward, the subordinates on the ground groaned, and his spiked tail whipped strongly towards him. Creating a fierce gust of wind, the group from Min couldn't dodge in time. Only he quickly sidestepped while two people fell into the water surrounded by them. "Help!" It raised its tail, preparing to attack with the activated skill Wave Surge Tail. The rotten fish opened its mouth wide and roared, charging towards two men. He could only grit his teeth, staring at it as it charged. The rotten fish stuck out its long tongue, making a horrifying hissing sound. Two Min's eyes widened, his whole body stiffened. "This time I'm definitely dead." Suddenly, a wave of killing intent rushed in from behind. A figure dashed forward. It was Lamu, quickly grabbing his collar and pulling him away. He forcefully threw two men back his hand, conjuring a green orb, blocking the path of Lamu's power, which quickly struck straight at the rotten fish, hitting it directly on the head. Causing a massive explosion, he pulled his entire body straight down to the ground. Two men, confused, didn't know what was happening. Coughing as he clutched his throat, he knelt down in bewilderment. "Am I saved?" The black cloak flew past. Two men hurriedly stood up to block him. Wait on the path Lamu was taking. The green energy emanating from him made two men realize that it was that deity from earlier. Lamu jumped up, the power gathering in his hand formed a magical orb. Lamu unleashed his skill on the rotten fish, causing them to continuously lose health minus 320. They cried out in pain, thrashing their tails violently to escape the swamp. The rotten fish roared and charged to attack one person, which was Lamu, as two men witnessed the scene. In his heart, he panicked and shouted a warning, "Be careful, deity." They tried to bite him with their sharp teeth, but Lamu just jumped back easily, dodging all of them. "Is that all they have?" He knelt on one knee on the ground, one hand pressed down while the other clenched into a fist. Lamu took out a sword from his space, his eyes sharp as knives. Looking straight at them, he coldly said, "A bunch of mixed fish gathered together is still just mixed fish." He moved at the speed of light, continuously taking down several rotten fish. Two men and the others witnessed this scene, and he exclaimed in astonishment, "Holy crap! Where did this old master come from? Just a moment ago, the 8 of us were almost defeated, and yet he single-handedly took down 5. What kind of power is that? It's just a pity that in a one-on-one fight he can't kill the rotten fish." Hearing his friend Don Hien say more, he panicked even more. The deadliest move of the monsters is still the group attack skill. Below in the swamp, the rotten fish growled together, creating a lightning bolt that connected with each other. A green smoke suddenly flared up. Lamu was completely obscured from view, unable to assess the situation below. His face darkened and the excitement radiated from his eyes as the green smoke surrounded his body. The system rang with a warning in his head. The rotten fish activated the group skill Resonance, and enemies within range would be hit with toxic bones, activating negative statuses like chaos and hallucination. Lamu sneered. A magic circle had appeared in his hand from who knows when. What a trick this is. "I won't fall into the trap of this world. Summon the undead giant wolf and command the undead wolf to move. Now use the hungry wolf skill. Let it stand on the cliff and howl the wind circle hits the rotten fish." The system hurriedly announces a hit on the rotten fish, which falls into a state of coma. Lam Uyen covered his face with his hand, so now on the screen are lines of code running continuously. The system screen displays the text Mask of Sobriety, a one-time use toxic mask prop. On the mask, a half-face mask appeared. Lam Uyen quickly moved with his sword. The undead giant wolf standing behind protected him as he moved down to the swamp. Lie down and accept death. Every time Lam Uyen passed by the rotten fish, the system jumped up, hitting the weak points one by one, slowly taking them down, accompanied by the system's voice announcing the weak point hit. Lam Uyen jumped onto the head of one, stabbing down hard into its head, killing it. The system screen displayed the text along with the screams of the rotten fish hitting the weak point. Min pointed at Lam Uyen, mouth agape, exclaiming how impressive it was. Dan Hien reminded that if we slack off now, it would still be too early. From the swamp, many more rotten fish appeared. Look, the fish are coming. He commanded the undead scorpion to attack. Go summon the undead! It growled, and purple energy began to gather, activating the glass thunder skill from the undead scorpion, shooting out purple magic orbs. But that magic orb shot straight down at the rotten fish, causing them to thrash their tails and dive into the swamp. The sharp meteorites still pierced through the muddy ground. The rotten fish crashed straight into their bodies, mouths wide open. Groaning, Not Trung held his head in disbelief. Indeed, it couldn't be. With the level and number too large, it was completely impossible to catch the entire school of fish in one net. Lam Uyen jumped from the head of the rotten fish, landing on the cliff opposite Not Trung's group. Coldly speaking, who said we couldn't kill them all? He pulled the hood over his head, making it mysterious. Min widened his eyes, looking down at the swamp. Wait, this is the reason for fear. Pointing at the scorpion, it seemed to always aim at the bellies of the females in the swamp, their bright eyes looking at the fallen rotten fish. Everyone look, it seems the school of fish is starting to... Kao rounded his eyes in shock when seeing their actions attacking the rotten fish together, eating the fallen ones. Horrifying sounds echoed. Lam Uyen calculated in his heart that when the female fish died or reproduced, they would release a large amount of radiation. The scent attracted the fish into a frenzy state, protecting the eggs while immediately activating the charge mode, indiscriminately targeting. He looked down at the swamp from the high cliff. This is taking advantage of the characteristics of this fish, making them kill each other. One rotten fish dove into the mud. It jumped up, mouth wide open, attacking Lam Uyen. Min screamed in fear, warning the master to be careful. He still stood there, calmly watching the fish flying closer. Dan Hien stepped back defensively. Is this also a female fish? How could it have a body almost as big as a fish? Lam Uyen lowered his head, his voice becoming grim. Just in time, he summoned many undead desert wolves and commanded the undead wolves to attack. They rushed in to tear apart the unfortunate rotten fish. Lam Uyen was a bit surprised, saying, "No wonder they are elite monsters at level 15. He stood before the sharp teeth of the rotten fish. Not afraid at all, he commanded 6 undead wolves without causing fatal damage. Lam Uyen drew his sword, but just needed to make you unable to move. Then it would be much easier to deal with. He just needed 1 slash to take it down. The system immediately announced the elimination of the elite rotten fish. Lam Uyen commanded the undead to raise their heads. He swung the axe down hard onto the head of the most foul-smelling fish. Trung looked on with suspicion at the blue poison sac inside the male fish. He didn't let the boy ponder for long before speaking up to answer. That's right. The blue poison sac growing inside the male fish is like a size X cable of toxic gas, and the smell it emits will force the school of fish to detect the danger signal from the foul-smelling fish. Those that could still swim hurriedly dove down to hide, while the others struggled in the green water, gasping for air weakly as they flailed their tails. Stay at least 5 meters away. They dared not linger any longer. They could not be completely immune to their own toxins. Once they were poisonous, they could only let others kill them. 2 men jumped up joyfully. Let's go! The school of fish had truly disappeared. Lam Uyen jumped down from the cliff into the swamp. Now it was just a matter of collecting the spoils. But the arrogant one seemed unable to believe his ears. A single person could clear out the entire area. It was unbelievable. 2 men's eyes shone with admiration, rebutting, "You really are unbelievable." He wanted to make a trophy to hang on his thigh. Down in the swamp, with just a few slashes, Lam Uyen had cleaned up the foul-smelling fish in less than 30 seconds. He reappeared on the cliff before everyone, and 2 men's system displayed a notification: received 12,000 experience points, leveling up to level 11. Lam Uyen stood still, silently acknowledging that thanks to his previous life, he had accumulated hundreds of experience points in this dungeon. This time he could level up quickly. He closed his eyes, removed the mask from his face, and silently praised this mask. In this battle, he also made a significant contribution. The jar in Lam Uyen's hand collected all the life force of the foul-smelling fish. He regretted that it cost 5 gold coins to buy, and it could only be used once, a bit of a loss, but it was still worth the money. The system screen displayed a line of text containing information. Foul-smelling fish oil, 1,000 grams produced from the fat glands of foul-smelling fish in the Gobi Swamp. It is one of the ingredients for the advanced healing potion effective with miraculous results for wounds caused by necrotic toxins, allowing dead tissue to regenerate back into healthy flesh. Lam Uyen remembered something. He suddenly exclaimed, "I almost forgot about this." A red ball appeared in his hand. The system displayed more information about it. The nose of the wave disruptor, a gadget made from the skin of the foul-smelling fish, is a rounded nose cover. When squeezed, it emits a clucking sound and can also vibrate and glow, releasing pheromones from the foul-smelling fish that create a fear effect on small aquatic creatures. Lam Uyen looked at the nose of the wave disruptor with some disgust. He imagined himself wearing it and looking like a clown, his face darkened with thought. At first, he wondered if it was a high-level mission reward or just the strange taste of the game designer that led to this bizarre item. 2 men appeared out of nowhere next to Lam Uyen, covering his mouth in awe. "So cool, and it can glow too." He looked at the nose of the wave disruptor with delight. "Oh my gosh, it even moves," Lam Uyen asked suspiciously. "Do you like this nose?" 2 men laughed joyfully, squinting his eyes. "It's so stylish, can you sell it to me?" How much?" "It's up to you," he said, sweating profusely at his enthusiasm. 2 men helplessly placed a hand on 2 men's shoulder. He felt embarrassed for his teammate who might want to stay on the mountain forever. He awkwardly said, "Sorry, he's always like this." Lam Uyen generously tossed the item to 2 men. "Here, it's a gift for you." He quickly stopped him. "Wait, at least let me pay you." In 2 men's mind, he had already added wings to Lam Uyen. He was so moved that he almost teared up. The minister is truly an angel. What are the 2 people behind thinking? Is there really someone willing to spend money to buy this? Later at the chapel outside the room, there were 2 guards. Inside, Lam Uyen poured a green liquid from within himself onto Wave's chest, his eyes wide open in shock, exclaiming, "What?" Wave sat up, looking at him in surprise, not expecting that he could actually collect it. The system announced that you have successfully completed the golden mission requirement and received the reward of the golden weapon Soul Blade. Lam Uyen looked at the sword with satisfaction, thinking that this was finally the first golden weapon Soul Blade that he received in his previous life. The detailed information panel appeared. Soul Blade golden weapon type attack effectiveness plus 150 magic damage plus 150 spirit plus 100, accompanied by the skill Soul Blade Seal. The Soul Blade Seal has a range of 100 to 150 meters, dealing 150% spirit damage to the target enemy with no cooldown and consuming mana. The sword is also wrapped in a layer of thunder magic. Its effect may seem quite ordinary, but the accompanying skill, Soul Blade Seal, has extremely effective combat properties, especially the hidden effect. Lam Uyen's eyes were sharp. When thinking of attacking monsters with the sword, every time it would accumulate Soul Blade Chi in the enemy's body. After 3 times, it would deal an additional 250% spirit damage. He imagined standing on a cliff with the sword below him were many people who had failed. At that time, the Soul Blade had helped me sweep through the West Desert until I reached the top, becoming the #1 mage of the West Desert. Lam Uyen lightly touched the blade, and the system's voice echoed in his head. "You have received the reward of fame in the main city plus 1,000 fame from the Scorpion Knight group plus 500. Lam Uyen calculated in his heart that the fame received was the same as in his previous life. Just at a neutral level, but enough to operate in the main city. He glanced at the system panel, and yet the system said that because your character has completed the mission, you have received a reward NPC favorability increased by 10. Wave happily looked at his hands. Lam Uyen, suspicious, thought that something seemed different this time. He looked at him sincerely and said, "Thank you so much, little brother. If it weren't for you, I might have died in bed next month." Lam Uyen politely replied, "No need to be polite," then added, "There's one thing I must remind you." He was suspicious and asked in his heart if it was because he received an additional 10 favorability points that activated the hidden. What detail? He cautiously issued a warning. "If you meet someone named Quincy, you must stay away from him." Lam Uyen voiced his confusion. "Quincy is my guide." "Why do you say that?" Wave exclaimed in surprise. "What, he's your guide?" He turned and stepped out from under the blanket. "Although you have concealed your profession, in fact." Wave stood up and asked, "You are a death hunter, right?" Lam Uyen's face darkened. How do you know I am a death hunter? He wondered, thinking that after hiding the information, even QC shouldn't be able to know my identity. He seriously explained, I thought you were a member of the Scorpion Knights under the king, responsible for carrying out secret missions, including hunting death hunters. Therefore, I learned a special skill called Dark Sense. Lam Uyen was suspicious. Dark Sense. Not letting him ponder for long, Wave replied, Dark Sense is a unique skill of the Scorpion Knights. Once a death hunter appears, it will automatically sense the distance. The closer it gets, the clearer the perception. Lam Uyen looked at him and asked, So you discovered my identity early on? He was extremely surprised. He never expected there would be a special skill specifically to deal with death hunters. Wave looked incredulously at his palm. At first I was heavily poisoned. The diminished awareness meant I didn't realize the poison had already been resolved. You carry a special aura of the Dark Lord that I cannot overlook. Lam Uyen vaguely asked the Dark Lord, If you are serious about this, then it must begin from a very, very long time ago. Let me start recounting the most popular legend in this immortal world, which features a total of 5 divine beings, the god of light, the moon, the shadow monarch, the goddess of nature, the lord of tides, and the king of souls. But in fact, from the very beginning, there was a 6th god, a figure in a black cloak wearing a crow mask who appeared as the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord, also known as the King of the Immortals, was the most powerful being among those 6 divine entities. It was precisely because of his immense power that the Dark Lord acted according to his whims. Without any regard for anything, many of his subordinates knelt before him, and he granted his most loyal followers incredibly powerful dark abilities. This transformed them into death hunters executing his divine orders. The voice of the Wave radiated resentment under the brutal rule of the Dark Lord. The death hunters not only spread disease, they killed tens of millions of people, and the more he spoke, the deeper his voice became, turning the spirits under his command into zombies, causing countless disasters everywhere. Thus, the great nations began to rebel against the Dark Lord. The temples once used to worship him were systematically destroyed, and all records related to him were burned to ashes. The death hunters, once discovered, would be immediately executed on the spot. From then on, this profession was classified as forbidden, hated, and hunted by all. Gripping the fabric on his chest, he said years ago, It was during a battle that I fell victim to the poison of a death hunter, which tormented me with illness for 15 days. At first I thought I could only wait for death, until you appeared. Lam Uyen listened to the story and gave him a sharp look, thinking, In my previous life I was just a wizard. I never expected that behind those legends lay such a secret like that. He remembered his information panel, player Lam Uyen, level 6 profession, Death Hunter. Forbidden innate ability to summon darkness, gateway to the underworld, 35 out of 100 strength, 32 physique. 28 agility, 49 spirit, 156 experience, 527 out of 8,726. It's no wonder the Death Hunter became a forbidden profession. Thankfully, I have always remained in a hidden state. Lam Uyen remained silent, stroking his chin, contemplating that things were starting to get complicated. I thought that after resolving the crime point, I could quietly investigate the clues about the metal in the holy city. His eyes became sharp, but now it seems. If I don't quickly find a way to conceal the aura of the Dark Lord, I might be exposed immediately. Lam Uyen spoke up, asking, Is there any way to avoid the dark sensing of the Knights? The Scorpion Knights did not reveal their tense expressions, their hands clenched tightly unless Quincy was willing to help you, but once he learns your true identity, Quincy will definitely kill you. He added another shocking piece of information, for it was a death hunter who had killed the woman he loved the most years ago. Lam Uyen's expression turned grim as he sincerely reminded, That's why I advise you to stay away from him. Later, he wandered alone in the shattered desert. Lam Uyen heard the system's voice. You have returned to the shattered desert 10 minutes ago. Seeing Lam Uyen's grim demeanor, he hurriedly tried to stop him. Are you crazy? Do you really want to seek out Quincy? He hates nothing more than to chop all death hunters into pieces. He paused, glancing at him, replying, I have no other choice. Returning to real time, Lam Uyen clenched his fists, thinking that if he carried this dark aura, not to mention the holy city, even if he went to other maps, he would likely encounter great trouble needing to resolve the root cause. Suddenly, magical ice arrows flew towards him. He glanced warily, asking, What is that? The magical ice fell onto the desert. Lam Uyen recoiled, dodging. What kind of move is that? He replied, It's safe on the ground. One knee bent down. In Lam Uyen's eyes, shadowy figures from afar were rushing towards him like Mongolian cavalry led by a dragon speaking up. After wandering around this damned place for several days, I finally caught you, kid. He stood among the crowd, laughing maliciously last time you tricked me, so this time I brought over 30 of my brothers armed with knives to watch you die. The corner of his mouth curled up in disdain. Remember to shout a little when your head falls to the ground. I love to hear the sound of insects and birds flapping their wings in the air, capturing the scene in the bustling desert. In its eyes is the ultra-clear camera on the phone ringing with a notification of blood essence. The guild you care about is live streaming. Many people are sitting on the subway. The sound of the Phi Tiger echoes from the phones of the lucky viewers who can catch this broadcast. He stroked his chin, grinning devilishly. We are about to demonstrate how to slowly disassemble a person into parts on the stream, which is currently online, starting from 88 viewers, then up to 123, and then to 212 viewers. 4 curious people in an office sat in front of the computer watching the person in the middle, who exclaimed in surprise, "What killing in the guild again? Is it live streaming torture on the weak?" Outside, everyone was focused on their phones. The guy in the black hat sighed, "More than 30 against this unlucky guy. Who did he provoke to get into this gang?" In another office, the person in the middle was moving the mouse, feeling a sense of familiarity. The girl next to him remarked, "This guy is quite handsome. Too bad he's about to be finished." At the same time, outside in the desert, Lamb was cold and indifferent, twisting his wrist, relying on 2 wild dogs. "You guys aren't even warm enough to survive, and you're offering yourselves up, so I'll collect again." After that scene, the comments went wild. "This guy is really daring to say Blood Oath Guild, say it again. I think it's kind of cool." The front row selling seeds and drinks waited for the massacre to begin. Phi Long shouted angrily, "Get my 30-man army to follow orders and charge." One person was a mage casting the Heavenly Thunder spell, while another, with a bow and arrow shot from above, die. The crowd, some wielding axes, others swords, and even dual swords, all rushed to attack Lamu. The notification system popped up reminding them of the malicious siege attack. Counterattack time 15 minutes. If you kill the attackers, it won't count towards your crime points. He just waited for that, grinning with satisfaction, taking out his sword from the space. 15 minutes is enough to kill about 3 of them. Lam Uyen summoned a horde of undead. They growled and rushed to attack Phi Long's group. "Let the zombie army go out for a stroll." He looked disdainfully at the purple orb flying towards him. Is this little spark really called thunder? On the other side, the scorpion zombie used its tail to take down a zombie. The scorpion was struck by lightning and poisoned. Phi Long, seeing the situation unfavorable for his side, loudly ordered, "All warriors retreat and form a shield formation to protect the mage focus on attacking the target." The thieves and archers began to disrupt the retreating crowd following the plan of Kaisak. Those with shields stood in front to take the hits, while the mages thrust their staves firmly into the sand. The 3 of them combined their spells to enhance the one in front, gripping the staff tightly, creating a massive thunderball. He shouted loudly, swinging the staff towards Lam Uyen. Lightning bolts shot towards the other group of undead. The 2 archers also combined their efforts, simultaneously shooting arrows that pierced through the undead. The health of the dog-headed zombies continuously dropped by hundreds. The online viewer count, which was 212, fell to 168. The viewers commented in disappointment about these summoned beasts. For level 7 and 8 elite units, they are nothing more than gifts to be easily taken down. Disperse, disperse. Indeed, another empty barrel making a loud noise. Let's start the betting. Bet to see how many minutes that kid can hold out. Phi Long sneered. So what if I summon zombies? Even the ones I summoned last time turned into a pile of mush under our continuous attack. They only turned into a pile of minced meat. The tiger said smugly, "Today you're definitely going to die." Lamu Yen showed no sign of fear and laughed coldly. He asked in confusion, "What's that guy laughing about?" The bullets flew quickly, and he couldn't read a comment that stood out more than anything else. Under the feet of the crowd, the ground suddenly shook, and yellow sand shot up, attacking the weakly defended sorcerers behind them who were pulled into a black hole. Terrified, he cried for help under the bewildered gaze of his teammates. Help! He had just been attacked and was now surrounded by zombie dog-headed creatures, leaving the sorcerer panicking with his mouth agape as he moved strangely. Continuously taking down the well-protected sorcerers, they screamed in fear, yet with one move they quickly retreated as the front line braced itself against the terrifying attack of the undead. The dog-headed zombies continuously cried out for help, and the tiger and the dragon turned pale at the sight. The number of online viewers jumped from 168 to 302, and the crowd commented in confusion, "What's going on?" An ambush from underground. Even zombies know how to coordinate. Tell those chickens to come here and take a beating who said they had to be torn to pieces. Now the ground is full of parts. The surviving sorcerers called out to each other to be cautious. Be careful of the poisoned wounds. Cleanse them first before treating. Before they could finish speaking, they were struck by a powerful attack. And the one delivering the blow was none other than Lamu. Behind him there was a very slight movement, and he coldly swung his sword in that direction. Without even needing to turn around, the assassin was pierced through the stomach by the sword, unable to believe what was happening. "How did you know?" Lamu glanced at him disdainfully and replied, "At least I won't be foolish enough to hide in the sand where the undead you summoned are still eagerly taking down the members of the Blood Oath Guild." The cries of despair rang out. "Too strong! Everyone run!" The tiger gripped his sword tightly, breathing heavily in anger, his teeth clenched as he growled. Veins bulged on his face, his pupils red. "Damn useless trash!" The tiger leaped high with his sword. "I will personally kill you." Lamu frowned, his lips slightly pursed, secretly smiling. Magic gathered around the sword, the energy carrying the flying skeletons. "Then let's see." The skulls opened their mouths wide as if they could swallow the tiger whole. The soul shelter kept him back, continuously retreating in fear. The tiger gaped his eyes wide as he watched the skulls. Lamu moved like the wind piercing through him. The tiger cut down his legs, which were hanging precariously, and firmly planted them on the ground, successfully executing his landing technique. His hair concealed Lamu expression, revealing only a slight smile. Back to back with the tiger, they opened their mouths, subtly starting to count to 3, the tiger's face trembling. Sweat dripped down as Lamu voice echoed in his ears. When he reached the final count, his entire body exploded, debris flying along with dust. Lamu planted his sword in the ground, satisfied, and spoke. Indeed, it was still the old friend using his right hand. On the live screen, the current number of online viewers rose from 302 to 558, astonished comments flooding in like a tide. "And this special effect is a recharge, huh? The tiger threatened the old man. Light the fireworks for someone. You wanted to chop someone, but instead you got chopped into a celestial maiden. Does the old man lack jewelry?" I shouted, 666, the pinnacle of the system. The player, Huang Fai Tiger, had logged out of the live stream, standing amidst the cries and moans blending with the calls for help. "Help!" He stood there stiffly as if caught in a spell. "Is this an illusion?" In the eyes of the dragon Lam, Uyen appeared like a demon, taking down each person one by one. Clearly, he had only been gone for a few days, yet that kid was just standing there. From the depths of his heart, he felt fear, as if facing a demon from hell after dealing with those minions. Lam Uyen cast a sharp glance behind him, and the dragon trembled, unable to stand firm. His voice became urgent. Don't kill me." He coldly withdrew his sword from a soldier's back. Lam Uyen slowly walked towards him, saying, "Now you control the sword to stab the dragon's head. It's your turn to savor the taste of despair." He fell backward as the strawberry syrup splattered everywhere, watching the flying dragon fall down his body, radiating a blue light. Lamu calmly said, "It's over." His deep red eyes narrowed when he heard the buzzing sound of a live stream insect flying near him. Lamu casually reached out, almost forgetting to unleash his magic to explode it. Shattering the live stream insect into pieces, Lamu stood there leisurely. Bits of equipment fell onto his head. Now it was peaceful. The dark sky was filled with twinkling stars at some towering villa in Lamstar. A bewildered netizen exclaimed, "What?" Even the live stream insect was blown up by the Elder. Another person commented, "Does anyone know who the Elder is?" Someone else quickly replied, I know it's the Elder who previously killed the giant wolf. I was at the scene, and all of that was witnessed by a young man." 2 attendants were captured on the computer screen, and everyone continued to leave comments. "Where is the Elder now? I want to meet him. It seems to be a rocky desert, right?" The Mercenary Guild sent out an S-class invitation. The mysterious young man tightly held a wine glass, while at the same time, in the immortal black sand area, QC was sleeping soundly, hugging a wooden barrel. Lamu naturally opened the door. He recognized the noise and immediately opened his eyes. It was Quincy, holding up a wine bottle, his voice soft and weak, refusing to get up anymore. "The wine is enough for today. I'm too lazy to move," Lamu said indifferently. "I want to talk to you." The system screen displayed the message to cancel hidden professions. His information panel appeared: Player Lam Uyen, level 11 profession, Undead. Hunter forbidden talent. Shadow summoning technique. Door to the underworld. 35 out of 100 strength, 32 physique, 28 agility, 49 spirit, 156 experience points, 527 out of 8,726. The wine bottle fell to the ground and shattered, making a sound as a flash of blood appeared in his pupils. You are the undead hunter. The unusual silence lingered as their eyes locked. Quincy spoke first, hissing each word. How many years has it been? He activated his supernatural ability as the undead hunter. Quincy's eyes turned blue, surrounded by elemental lightning. How dare you appear before me, all the grievances? During this time, Quincy transformed into power and released the barrels of wine, which were also shattered by the lightning-like meteorites. From above, causing the ground to crack, all techniques missed. Lamu Yen took a hit. He opened his eyes wide in shock. So fast, Quincy gritted his teeth. Helplessly watching the shadow move as fast as the wind, Lamu Yen suddenly appeared in front of him, the sword pointed directly at his neck, the tip of the sword just a small distance from himself. Quincy froze his sharp eyes and commanding voice said, "Now can we talk civilly?" He silently clenched his fists, conceding, "What do you want?" Returning to Lamu Yen's memories, he sighed, "All right, I will yield. If you must go, consider this clue as a token of gratitude." In the past, under the shadow of the Dark Lord, the immortal world was engulfed in endless despair. To uphold justice, Quincy led his wife to wage war against the undead hunters. The Dark Lord's close aid was eliminated in the bloody battle, while his wife, injured while saving Quincy, fell victim to the curse of death from the undead. Corrupted by dark forces, her soul became a being devoid of memory, forever unable to transcend. He witnessed the woman he loved transform into a monster. Screaming in pain, unwilling to break the death curse and save his wife, the only method was to destroy her poisoned soul with his own hands. But since that battle, Quincy was injured to the point where he could no longer hold a sword. Everyone thought Quincy would end his life by drinking away his sorrows, wrapping himself in blankets to pass the days. Until one day, he announced a mysterious mission. This mission could save his wife, and those who uphold justice would receive his lifelong treasure. The undead hunters would receive the method to break the curse, sensing the darkness. That was a secret treasure he obtained from the corpse of a deceased undead hunter. Quincy intended to use the spoils as bait, to save his wife, break the curse, and make the remaining undead hunters pay in blood, but out of 158 people who accepted the mission, none survived to this day. Returning to the present, Lamu Yen pointed his sword at QC, threateningly saying, "Tell me what your mission is." He slightly lowered his head and exhaled. "All right, you came to our door on your own, we were still worried. It had been a long time since anyone played games with my beloved wife." At that moment, the system screen displayed the message, "Mission detected, commissioned by QC. Do you accept?" The mission title was The Soul of the Wife. The mission content was to help QC's wife be freed so she could rest in peace. The mission duration was 10 days, and the mission level was silver. He glanced and replied briefly with one word, "Accept." Lamu Yen coldly turned his back and left. Quincy hurriedly stood up and said, "Well, I wish you luck. Who knows, you might actually complete my mission." Behind him, he wore a sly smile, thinking, "Of course, on the condition that your body returns intact." A moment later, at the shrine of the deceased in the north of Blacktown, the sound of Lamu Yen's footsteps echoed. Echoing in the hallway, his red eyes lit up. Having used night vision drugs, Lamu Yen was escorted by 2 alpha wolves and a scorpion. He walked very cautiously. The shrine commemorating the deceased consisted of 5 floors where all the NPCs that died in Blacktown were buried. Suddenly, a mutated creature jumped out from a coffin, charging at Lamu Yen with a growl. Before it could reach him, the death scorpion pierced its body with its tail. He stared at it silently, thinking, besides that, occasionally there are also undead monsters like zombies and skeletons. The levels of these undead monsters increase with each floor of the shrine. The first floor consists of level 1 to 3 zombies, which are low-level types. The second floor has skeleton monsters from level 4 to 6. The third floor has wraiths at level 79, and the monsters on the fourth floor are corpse-eating demons at level 10. The death wolves held torches and stopped in front of a spatial gate. Lamu Yen's eyes radiated a concealed excitement. The corners of his mouth lifted. "Let's take a breath and get through these 4 floors first." Lamu Yen easily reached the 4th floor. In the dark, silent space, he cautiously observed his surroundings. Finally, Lamu Yen stopped in front of the funeral home on the 4th floor. He stood at the door, vigilantly watching the 10 pairs of blood-red eyes in the pitch-black darkness. Lamu Yen suspected there was some sound. Corpse-eating demons appeared from somewhere, activating their wall-moving skill. From another direction, 3 more activated their upside-down tearing skill. Lam Uyen quickly counted. There were already more than 10 of them. The system interface popped up. Introduction. Elite Corpse-Eating Demon, level 10, health 2000, attack 400, defense 40. Skills tearing with poison, wall movement, upside-down tearing, activating the tearing skill with poison. His gaze sharpened, and with a powerful voice he commanded, "Charge!" Just as he finished speaking, the zombie scorpion activated its skill, clamping down fiercely, smashing the corpse-eating demon. It growled again. The circular part at its tail began to gather lightning. The zombie scorpion struck its tail hard against the corpse-eating demon, sending them flying away. Lam Uyen flew in with his sword to join the fun and slash. He moved in a zigzag pattern. Before the corpse-eating demons could react, Lam Uyen beheaded them. He paused to look at the chaos behind him, only to find one had its body severed. One had its body pinned to the ground. One corpse-eating demon was still struggling to crawl, and Lam Uyen coldly stomped down hard on its head. "Almost missed you!" The monsters he defeated lay scattered on the ground. The system displayed a message. "Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 12. He thought to himself, "That's faster than I expected." Looking at the zombie with a dog's head, his eyes brightened when he saw the corpse of the corpse-eating demon. Lam Uyen regretted, thinking, "It's a pity that the dark control spell can only control zombies. But it has no effect on undead monsters at all." A surge of black-purple energy suddenly appeared behind him. Lam Uyen's eyes widened in fear as he glanced back cautiously. A purple magic column shot from somewhere. It shot straight toward him. Lam Uyen jumped up, fortunately, using his sword to slice the spell in half. What is this? He felt something was wrong, gritting his teeth in fear and saying, "Oh no." Lam Uyen was enveloped by that energy, unable to resist. In a place illuminated by blue flames on the steps, there was a stone statue of a demon with its mouth wide open. That black-purple energy column shot out from the void. Lam Uyen followed that dark energy. Using the sword firmly planted in the ground to steady himself, he glanced around at the scenery. Above Lam Uyen was a coffin tightly bound by black iron chains with a circle on top. He showed a clear look of disbelief, moving to another area. Inside the coffin was a woman with brown hair and long, sharp red claws. She licked her lips and smiled eerily. "Finally, I've been waiting for you." A loud explosion rang out as the female ghost broke free from the coffin. The chains were shattered. She smugly said the scent of fresh blood and flesh. The system displayed detailed information. Vengeful Spirit, level 18, life 6000, attack 800, defense 200, skill deadly bloom. Lam Uyen used his hands to shield himself from the debris. "This is the 5th floor right." The Vengeful Spirit laughed maniacally as it flew toward him, ready to tear him apart. Lam Uyen quickly used his sword to counter her attack, while vines emerged from behind the Vengeful Spirit. The system reminded him that the boss activated the deadly bloom skill. All the vines targeted Lam Uyen. He jumped up to avoid them landing far away from the vines. The sharp thorns of the vines pierced the ground, turning it into poison. The Vengeful Spirit controlled the vines to attack him. Lam Uyen thought to himself, "Does this poison have corrosive properties?" Debris flew chaotically this level of attack. He gripped the hilt of his sword with determination. Lam Uyen swung his sword, cutting through all the vines that came at him. They were useless against me. Lam Uyen continuously severed the vines of the Vengeful Spirit, the dark resentment clinging to his sword. Her body began to crack and break apart. She panicked, covering her face with her arm. The Vengeful Spirit clenched her fists, veins bulging on her forehead, her eyes glinting with blood. She growled loudly, and circles of resentment radiated from her body. The system reminded him that the boss activated the Siren's Wail skill. Lam Uyen was nearly blown away. This was an area of effect skill. This was summoning the wail of the Vengeful Spirit echoing throughout the space. Light purple resentment floated away, weaving through every crack. He squinted, his gaze sharp as a bony hand reached out from the wooden door. Lam Uyen tightened his grip on the sword. Could it be? He was astonished to see the skeletons shatter the door of the NPC from the black sand town buried here. Looking at the life force rising from the shattered objects on the ground, Lam Uyen thought to himself, not only the original townsfolk, but also those who had failed their quests. "Damn it!" He frowned, dropping into a combat stance. "That witch wants to resurrect them," making the skeletons crawl out from the cave, continuously screaming. Lam Uyen's face was partially obscured by his hair. but his anger was still evident. The number behind the door was definitely not just one person. I really didn't expect this. This boss can actually resurrect that pile of bones. He summoned and commanded the zombie dogheads to come out immediately. Lam Uyen pointed his sword coldly, saying, "Block the door from those guys right now." A zombie doghead rushed forward to block the door with its scythe. He calculated silently. "First, let the zombie army take the hits to stop those guys." Lam Uyen pointed and ordered, adding a bloodthirsty state. In another direction, the scorpion zombies also received orders to block the door. The zombie doghead leader pulled the vines with bare hands. They, along with the scorpion zombies, had fierce eyes, unafraid of death, attacking the vines, enthusiastically entering a bloodthirsty state. The zombie doghead leader gripped its weapon tightly, growling continuously. Lam Uyen's face darkened as he coldly called out, "Zombie doghead leader attacked." He commanded, and as soon as he finished speaking, the undead charged forward bravely. They rushed to attack the vengeful spirit, activating the skill Earthquake Roar. Activating the heavy strike skill, she was hit hard by the giant tail of the scorpion zombie, sending the vengeful spirit crashing into the wall, shattering the surrounding wall. She furrowed her brow in shock, looking up as rocks fell heavily from above toward the vengeful spirit. She still managed to escape the rubble using the vines. Smiling smugly, Lam Uyen was astonished by the terrifying power of the vengeful spirit, watching her revel in her triumph above. He silently recalled the information he knew. The vengeful spirit belongs to the ghost type, capable of passing through buildings and immune to half of physical attacks. Lam Uyen grasped the weakness of the vengeful spirit. He focused his power on the sword, but at the same time they would also suffer double the magical damage. Lam Uyen slashed and moved rapidly, yet she still managed to escape easily. "Then let's use the soul seal to deal damage." The vengeful spirit showed no fear, dodging the attacks effortlessly. He looked at her bewildered, wondering why her speed had suddenly increased so much. He also noticed the zombie with a dog's head blocking the skeletal remains, beads of sweat forming on Lam Uyen's face. The NPCs in the tomb could break through the defense line of the zombie army. Anytime. Therefore, a quick victory is necessary. He took out a ring from his space. First, he needed to find a way to restrict her actions. Lam Uyen gripped the ring tightly, small lightning bolts continuously radiating from it. The system screen displayed the information equipped with the paralysis ring. Paralysis ring, silver type jewelry, effectiveness life plus 100 magic power, plus 100 agility, plus 15. Spirit plus 15, skill poison paralysis. Poison paralysis, when worn, has a 5% chance to paralyze the enemy for 3 seconds upon attack activation. Lam Uyen flew towards the vengeful spirit. As he got close, Lam Uyen activated the poison paralysis skill, catching the vengeful spirit off guard. Thus, she was hit by Lam Uyen's poison paralysis. At that moment, the system displayed a notification: target hit, poison paralysis activated. He jumped up and attacked with his sword. It's not over yet. She couldn't cast magic in time and could only defend herself resigned. The vengeful spirit was knocked back and crashed into the wall, the vines also being cut into pieces. Taking advantage of the situation, Lam Uyen crouched down and landed, sending rocks and dirt flying towards her. The vengeful spirit nimbly jumped down, narrowly avoiding the blow. He praised her luck, saying it wasn't bad. Lam Uyen concluded in his heart that indeed, after being hit by the soul seal, once this person's speed had slowed down, he summoned the Death Wolf zombie. Then he pointed to the sky, commanding it to howl. The Death Wolf zombie raised its head and howled, activating the skill Howling Wolf. The vengeful spirit was hit by its attack. The system reminded him target stunned. Lam Uyen began to gather power into his sword. Although the stun duration was only 5 seconds, that was enough. He swiftly swung the sword in a continuous flurry of attacks. "How many of my moves can you take?" She helplessly tried to defend against the blows as the system continuously displayed notifications. Health reduced 280. The vengeful spirit, furious, had veins bulging on her face. The system kept announcing health reduction 280. The worm squirmed too much and she decided to unleash her final blow. The system sensed danger and immediately warned Lam Uyen boss activated the skill explosion technique. In an instant, a massive explosion occurred, purple lightning spreading throughout the space. The zombies he summoned were all struck dead by the heavenly thunder. Dust filled the entire basement until the vengeful spirit's magic stopped. Lam Uyen stood in the middle, surrounded by the dog-headed zombies without a single wound on him. He planted his sword into the rubble to steady himself. The explosion technique was so powerful that this person directly caused the NPC zombies to explode, destroying the entire tomb. Now Lamu Yen was left with only the scorpion zombie, the dog-headed zombie leader, and the death wolf zombie. He looked at her with sorrow, calculating that his zombie army was down to only 3, truly a heavy loss. The vengeful spirit knelt down while Lamu Yen remained standing firm. His gaze sharpened, his voice serious. "It's time to end you." Lamu Yen summoned many skulls and charged at her with his sword, disappearing. The skulls flew towards the vengeful spirit, stabbing into her abdomen. She opened her eyes wide at the powerful magic, crying out in pain. The system continuously displayed warnings. Boss is in a near-death state, life value 300. Boss is in a near-death state, life value 200. Boss is in a near-death state, life value 100. Boss is in a near-death state, life value 30. Congratulations, you have killed the vengeful spirit and received 800 experience points. Lamu Yen gently set his foot down on the ground, standing alone amidst the ruins, questioning, "Is it over?" Then small circles of light gathered in one spot, causing Lamu Yen to glance over. The soul of QC's wife leaned over sincerely, saying, "Thank you, brave man." Then her soul began to fade away, and before leaving, she smiled gently. Lamu Yen raised his hand to gather that light into his palm, revealing a gold ring with a gemstone. The purple color appeared on the screen, and the system displayed its information: a beloved ring, a quest item that cannot be discarded or sold. Note, this ring is an engagement ring gifted by QC to his wife. It is also a symbol of the love between the two. His face darkened as he looked at the ring in disappointment, thinking that the reward from defeating monsters was just this ring. Suddenly, a red book with a demonic symbol on its cover appeared, an ominous aura emanating from it, accompanied by clinking sounds. Lamu Yen stared at the book in suspicion, wondering what it was. Holding the book in his hand, Lamu Yen couldn't help but marvel at the fact that the violent spell just used by the vengeful spirit was actually the exclusive skill of the Death Spirit Violent Guardian. The system immediately announced, "Violent spell of gold learning conditions limited to Death Spirit Violent Guardian." Looking at the book, he pondered whether it was because the false seal was the trusted aid of the Dark Lord. No, after that. Streams of light emanated from the book and enveloped Lamu Yen. The system exclaimed, "Skill book automatically saved to the player's memory." The book in Lamu Yen's hand vanished, transforming into a column of light that merged into his body. The system's announcement rang out. "Violent spell of gold level 1 effect, explode a zombie dealing fire damage. 60% of the user's life value to the surrounding enemies, consuming 100 mana, cooldown time 10 seconds, proficiency not exceeding 100. Hearing the system's voice, Lamu Yen couldn't help but smile lightly. Although this skill would consume the zombie's quantity, its attack power and range were very good, which was considered a pleasant surprise. Returning to the familiar town of Black Sand, Lamu Yen extended his hand to offer the ring to Quincy. He looked at him in surprise. "This is the engagement ring I gave her back then." He took the ring, unable to help but recall moments with his beloved. The vengeful spirit sealed had no consciousness. Only when they are freed can they regain their memories and drop the item they cherished most in life. His voice trembled as Quincy asked, "My wife, when she left, was no longer in such pain, right?" "Isn't that so?" Lamu Yen still held out his hand, and he replied, "That's right." Holding the ring, trembling as he remembered his wife, he couldn't help but cry. "That would be wonderful." Slightly bowing with gratitude, he said, "I never expected that the Death Spirit Violent Guardian, whom I hated the most, would help me relieve my regrets. No matter what, I will remember this kindness in my heart." Then a wooden box appeared in QC's hand. He opened the box, revealing a crown radiating dark energy. "Now it's time to fulfill my promise." The system once again announced, "Dark Crown Special Equipment Headgear Effect 1, after equipping the value of crime becomes invisible. Effect 2, Concealed Dark Aura cannot be sensed. Note, exclusive equipment of the Death Spirit. Violent Guardian cannot be sold, cannot be destroyed." Holding the pure black crown in his hand, he couldn't help but think that although the Dark Crown did not come with additional effects, the ability to conceal crime value and dark aura was exactly what he needed most at this moment. Thinking back to the monsters he had hunted with it, he could resolve troubles from the Night Brigade. Acting in the Fortress City would no longer be constrained. At this moment, the system posed the question, "Do you want to equip the Dark Crown?" Lamu Yen immediately answered yes. Instantly, streams of green-black energy enveloped him, and the crown automatically placed itself on his head. Lamu Yen had finally taken a step closer to the truth. Stepping outside, walking through the town where guilds were recruiting members, he saw numerous large and small guilds, but only a few truly deserved to be called forces. He looked at the list the system had provided for him. 1, the Frenzy Guild; 2, the Glass Flower Water Moon Guild; 3, the Wandering Spirit Guild; 4, the Hymn Guild; 5, the Eternal Guild; 10, the Black Tree Guild. He wondered to himself, are there only 10 guilds? Could one of them be hiding among them? Lamu squinted slightly, thinking, right now I am just a newcomer who has just joined the Wind and Sand Guild. It is really not easy to approach these large guilds. Walking down the street, he kept looking around, realizing he needed to find an opportunity first. Suddenly, feeling like someone was watching him, Lam Uyen immediately changed direction and entered a small alley. Lam Uyen squinted slightly, thinking that currently she was just a newcomer. It was really not easy to approach these large guilds. Walking down the street, he constantly looked around, realizing he had to find an opportunity first. Suddenly, he felt someone was following him, so Lam Uyen immediately changed direction and entered a small alley. The moment that person stepped in, he completely vanished. Suddenly, a sharp blade was pressed against his neck from behind, and the dangerous voice of Lam Uyen echoed from behind. "Who is it?" he said, his voice slightly trembling. Finally, it was Tu Min. He joyfully rushed towards Uyen. "It's really you." In a daze, he instinctively dodged to the side, causing Tu Min to fall to the ground. Lam Uyen, feeling somewhat helpless, asked, "Are you sitting on the ground?" He rubbed his leg, looking pitiful. "Uyen, do you still remember me?" Lam Uyen immediately became alert, his sharp gaze fixed on him. "You even know my name!" Tu Min quickly stood up proudly, saying, "Back then I saw a live stream from that guild called Blood Something. I recognized you." He recalled sitting and reading dozens of comments on the screen. "I worked hard to find a trace of you, Uyen. I had to sift through tens of thousands of comments." Tu Min rubbed his nose, his voice filled with self-satisfaction. "Then I spent an additional 2 million to upgrade the latest facial recognition system from the corporation just to confirm it was you. You should praise me." Lam Uyen helplessly asked again, 2 million just to find me. He rubbed his head, somewhat confused. "Is that a lot? Our Han Corporation usually spends millions just to check the system? It must cost several million then." He frowned, calculating in his mind. The Han Corporation, that giant worth hundreds of billions that dominates the global high-tech market. This guy has such a background. What else does he know? Should I eliminate him right here? Tu Min's eyes sparkled like stars as he raised both hands full of excitement. Uyen, let's team up. Tomorrow in the Blood Lizard Cave there will be an S-level hunt." As he was rushing forward, his foot slipped on the ground due to tripping over a stone. He heard someone had discovered it. "The team is stripping the lizard." Just as Tu Min lost his balance and fell flat on his face, Lam Uyen remained cold. He turned his back and walked away. "You go ahead. Don't follow me. Why bother with this fool?" After a moment of confusion, he sat cross-legged and burst out laughing. "With a high-level deity like you, soloing the Blood O Guild's elite group would be as easy as slicing a melon. No need to form a team." Seeing Lam Uyen still indifferent, Tu Min rubbed his head and sighed, lamenting this hunting trip. "The 3 teams from the Black Tree Guild will come to test the new players. If they perform outstandingly, there might still be opportunities." He fell silent and opened the system panel to check. 0720 Guild, 0820 Guild, 0920 Guild, 10 Black Tree Guild. He stood up, his face pretending to show clear distress. "It seems I can only try my luck alone." While Tu Min was still in a daze, Lam Uyen's voice suddenly rang in his ears. "The specific time!" Hearing this, his face lit up with joy as he turned back, unable to contain his impatience. "Come back and coldly tell me when the specific time for the hunting action is." After hearing this, he knelt down and crawled over, intending to hug Lam Uyen's leg. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, Uyen, you agreed." Feeling uncomfortable, he quickly covered Tu Min's mouth and called out, "Lam Uyen, that's enough." He glanced over and saw Tu Min blushing and struggling to breathe. "But before we set off, we need to prepare a bit." Tu Min opened his eyes wide, looking surprised. In another place, a skull was floating. Dangling in the air as if observing the surroundings, the skull was stuck on a tree amidst the thick dust. "This is the camp of the vulture bandits." Suddenly, a gigantic explosion shook the surrounding space. On the ground, the vultures lay with their beaks open, and in the middle was Lam Uyen coldly observing. "The Lord must be right in front." He lowered his head and sighed heavily as the system began to check immediately, announcing a group of level 12 vulture zombies with 1,600 health, 250 attack, 70 defense, and the skill of curved throwing daggers of the undead. They surrounded Lam Uyen while he stood still ready to strike. When Lam Uyen turned to the group of vultures, they remained eerily silent, and then they all raised their heads and screamed loudly, their eyes instantly turning blood red. Emitting terrifying croaks, he swung his cloak and thrust his hand forward. Thus, the group of zombie vultures clashed in a frenzied melee. The vulture soared high and threw its dagger from its claws, launching straight ahead to activate the curved throwing dagger skill. Lamu Yen's cold gaze followed the dagger as it plunged straight into the ground, rocks flying everywhere. The vultures stared wide-eyed in suspicion but did not see his figure. Lamu Yen suddenly appeared behind it and struck a deadly blow. In an instant, he wildly slashed, slaughtering each vulture in front of him, claiming, "Your lives are mine." You have successfully defeated the target group of vulture bandits ×3. You have successfully defeated the target group of vulture bandits ×6. You have successfully defeated the target. The group of vulture bandits ×10 fell face down on the ground right behind Lam Uyen. His eyes scanned ahead filled with suspicion, but he did not see the shadow of the vulture thief anywhere. It has disappeared. Suddenly from behind it appeared and charged to attack Lam Uyen, the lord of the vulture bandits, level 19, with 6,200 health, 820 attack, 220 defense, and the skills of curved throwing daggers, stealth, and backstab. Activating the backstab skill, he stood still, his hand subtly moving as he began to activate the skill, triggering the explosion skill. The zombie vultures rushed in from all directions, surrounding him. Lam Uyen's eyes suddenly flashed with a brilliant blue light from the sky. A violent explosion erupted, shaking everything around. As the dust settled, he remained intact, only slightly coughing. Lam Uyen leaped into the air, charging quickly towards the vulture. He exuded a powerful aura, and his eyes shone with a terrifying coldness. This punch of the haunting fist proved effective. He swung his silver fist straight ahead, delivering a powerful blow that struck the vulture, causing its eyes to roll back in pain. "Sending you down to hell!" The blow sent it crashing to the ground, dust swirling in a straight line. Upon landing, Lam Uyen maintained his stance, "And you have killed the Lord Vulture Thief. It's over. Congratulations, you have leveled up to level 13. With a quick motion, he opened the system panel, and a notification appeared. Dark Curse of Gold level 3. Effect: deal 20% damage to health points of the target or restore 20% health points to the zombie mana. Cost 60, cooldown 6 seconds, proficiency 20 out of 300. Golden Spell of Explosion level 2. Effect: Explode 1. Zombie dealing fire damage to nearby enemies. Health points of self multiplied by 80%. Mana cost 100, cooldown 10 seconds, proficiency 2 out of 100. Dark Curse of Gold level 3. Effect: deal 20% damage to health points of the target or restore 20% health points to the zombie mana. Cost 60, cooldown 6 seconds, proficiency 20 out of 300. Golden Spell of Explosion level 2. Effect: Explode 1. Zombie dealing fire damage to nearby enemies. Health points of self multiplied by 80%. Mana cost 100, cooldown 10 seconds, proficiency 2 out of 100. A notification from the system appeared asking if he confirmed using the skill scroll to level up this skill. No. Lam Uyen reached out to accept it. After completing the action, he stood still, contemplating. The effect is good, isn't it? Previously using the skill scroll to level up the Dark Curse to level 1, now directly leveling it to level 3, also conveniently increasing the level of the golden spell. His face became somewhat pensive. As for the Zombie Legion, it was temporarily sufficient. He received 130 zombie beasts, and the system continued to announce, Zombie Leader of the Vulture Thief, level 15, health points 3,500, attack 500. Defense 100, skill Curved Blade of Stealth. The Undead Lord of the Vulture Thief, level 19, health points 6,200, attack 820, defense 220. Skill Curved Blade of Stealth. Toxic Claw attack, inflicting 20 points of poison damage. Skill Curved Blade of Stealth, stealthy attack. Toxic Claw attack, inflicting 20 points of poison damage. Lam Uyen's eyes shone brightly, exuding power after the Lord of the Vulture Thief was resurrected as a zombie. Yet there was an additional skill. He suddenly recalled the previous battle with the Dire Wolf. When the Dire Wolf died and resurrected, it also gained a new skill. The Immortal Family's Rage of the Evil Wolf deals 400% damage to surrounding enemies while causing them to faint, and the point of life for the owner is the Death Blade. The attack power of the owner of the Immortal Family's Rage has a 20% critical hit chance. Lam Uyen continues to analyze and speculate on every possibility of resurrecting a Lord-level monster. In addition to the normal skills, there will be an additional star skill. It seems very interesting. While thinking, the system announced that the hunting action you participate in will officially begin in 2 hours. After hearing this, he just smirked. Lam Uyen waved his tattered cloak excitedly, preparing to set off. The scene shifted to a deep forest where there was a blood cave. He felt uncomfortable hiding his eyes from something emitting light. Dazzling, he was looking at Min, who was twisting and turning in front with a costume shining like gold, cosplaying a gilded knight statue. He was still dancing confidently, saying, "Uyen, I have specially invited a high-level blacksmith to create this super armor with 50 gold coins. Don't worry, I absolutely won't hold you back today." Just after he finished speaking, Min's belt couldn't take it anymore and broke. He continued to chatter on. Not noticing that his pants had slipped down at some point, Min stopped feeling something was wrong and fell silent. Lam Uyen pointed and couldn't help but tease, "It's the first time I've seen armor like this. Very unique." He was pulling up his pants while walking. The blacksmith said this was the latest model. While speaking, Min's hat fell off, blocking his vision. He struggled to open his eyes but couldn't. "Wait, I can't see Uyen! Uyen, help me!" Min shouted as he stumbled over someone's foot. His head hit something very hard, which caused the latch on Min's hat to open. When he regained his sight, he looked up in confusion and saw a figure twice his size with a fierce face staring at him, Zhao Kui wearing a daunting smile. But the more he smiled, the scarier he looked. "Are you okay?" The system announced that the captain of the third team of the Black Bear Guild, Zhao Kui, was a level 15 warrior. Min stood frozen, sweating profusely, his heart racing. Why does this person look like he's smiling, but I feel like I've been bitten by a venomous snake? Is it an illusion? Suddenly, a hand from behind grabbed his collar. Losing patience, Lam Uyen sternly reminded him, "Hurry up and take off that stupid gear." Min rubbed his head and laughed foolishly. "Right." Zhao Kui glanced at him, his fierce expression unchanged, snorting softly. Lam Uyen remained calm and unafraid. Staring straight at Zhao Kui made him grit his teeth, his anger flaring up. This kid dared to look me in the eye. He truly is an annoying brat. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. Yutu Huangvu has appeared leading a group of people shouting loudly, "Who is named Min? He is holding a resume." His gaze swept over Lam Uyen's group. Huangvu's eyes were glued to the paper without looking away. He raised his hand and pointed directly at him. "It's you, right?" The one dressed strangely. When the words ended, the whole group of Huangvu burst into sarcastic laughter. "What kind of aesthetic is this? Look at his shiny gold outfit. Is he cosplaying something overly extravagant?" Min calmly stepped forward, pushing his hand away, smiling without a hint of anger. "That's me, the one dressed strangely. You three are the leaders of the Black Bear Guild, right?" "Yes, that's right. This is my friend." Before he could finish his sentence, a sword was drawn, pointing straight at him. Huangvu smirked, his eyes full of disdain. "All right. We're not interested in the name of a rookie. Remember this well. You're leading people not because of the double registration fee, but because our captain is particularly merciful." Lam Uyen lowered his gaze, remaining absolutely silent. Zhao Kui stepped forward, standing aside and speaking. "What are you doing? With a new friend, you have to be a little friendly." He scoffed at me, just joking. Captain Huangvu calmly drew his sword and put it back in its sheath, tilting his head as if to warn me. "Don't let our easygoing captain make you arrogant. You must be grateful and cherish this opportunity." "Understood." Min nodded flatteringly. Yes, we will definitely try our best." Yen stood behind, clapping loudly. Everyone stood at attention. "We will officially start the roll call now." He stood behind, fidgeting nervously. I never expected to actually act alongside members of the Grand Guild. He remained silent. This player is participating in the S-level hunt right in front. Huangvu frowned. "The gear is definitely not an issue, right? It won't break halfway, will it?" Thinking of this, Lam Uyen closed his eyes in contemplation. They were all new players, just entering the main city area. He stepped forward and entered the cave. "Now everyone is focused enough. We shouldn't hesitate any longer. Let's get ready to set off." "Stop," Trio Kue said coldly. "Everyone rest assured, when we meet the Black Tree Guild, even death itself must make way. Everything will be very safe." After hearing this, everyone moved behind and shouted loudly. He walked ahead. Min only saw him holding a red door, grinning foolishly. Min turned back, calling out loudly, "Uyen, hurry up! I heard this cave even has glowing slims." Huangvu was speechless. Oh God, is this guy here for a picnic? He calmly stepped forward, completely ignoring the words. As he got closer to Lam Uyen, he couldn't hide his excitement. I could smell a thrilling scent. In the blink of an eye, the group had entered the Bloodscale Cave. A moment later, they had to stop as many entrances appeared. How could it be so fast? There are already forks in the road. That said, throughout the journey, we haven't encountered a single real creature yet. This creature is active at night, so it's very likely resting deep in the cave right now. One of them raised his hand, speaking with doubt. "Captain Trieu, which fork do you think we should take?" He still didn't show any impatience, smirking. "I think it's best if we split up." As soon as he finished speaking, they immediately began to fuss about agreeing to split up. "But isn't that a bit dangerous?" "That's right, what if we encounter a level 16 elite?" Oh, the guild entered among them, speaking in a gentle tone to mediate. "Everyone be quiet. Actually, our captain has already scouted ahead to ensure safety for this operation. He led us to scout first. When you all met us today, we had just finished scouting and were resting to prepare for the assembly." He frowned in annoyance, not believing the words. "What did you just say, Captain Trieu scouted ahead?" His sharp gaze blocked the entrance of the cave. He nodded. "That's right. After our scouting this morning among these 3 paths, the middle path has pheromones from the real creature very distinctly. The risk of a surprise attack is extremely high, while the other 2 paths are actually very safe." Trio Kue kept talking non-stop. "The more dangerous the place, the more likely it is to find valuable discoveries. To ensure effectiveness while protecting everyone's safety, I decided that the Black Tree Guild, we will take the middle path and the others will take the 2 sides." His eyes lit up with a cunning glint, a fleeting smile full of schemes. "What do you all think?" They still believed Trio Kue's words wholeheartedly. Indeed, it is the Grand Guild. Every action is so meticulous. "You are the captain of the 3rd team of the Black Tree Guild, the highest-ranked senior among us." On the contrary, Lam Uyen pointed to the other side. "We will go left." Listening to him, Trio Kue sneered. "Of course that's not a problem, so does anyone want to go with them?" The group looked at the 2 people. Men still felt a bit worried about those 2. The guild leader spoke ambiguously. A person with a strange feeling looked quite untrustworthy. The others looked him up and down, evaluating him a fan who was just a poker-faced freak. "You see, he even hides his level and profession. Maybe it's because it's too low, so he's afraid of losing face, but I think it's pretty cool, so you go ahead." Trio Kue couldn't help but mock them after hearing their gossip. "It seems the chemistry between the 2 is quite poor. It's a pity that I am the captain of this operation. But I can't force everyone." He ignored those words and glanced back to leave. He stared at the backs of the 2 as they entered the cave. A contemptuous smile appeared on Trio Kue's lips. Those 2 fools knew nothing about the sharp stone spikes hanging from the ceiling in the cave. Drops of water quietly dripped down the falling droplets, silently gathered into a small puddle on the ground. Both of them cautiously took steps deeper into the cave. Behind them, 2 men held a sword and shield, his eyes showing a hint of fear. Uyen felt the temperature drop too quickly. It felt really strange, and the fear made his face pale. "I feel like I'm being stared at. Even the feeling is growing stronger." Lam Uyen's cold voice rang out, emphasizing each word. "So you finally noticed, huh? There is indeed something here." Hearing that 2 men felt a surge of panic. But Captain Trieu didn't say he had scouted this path. "Is this path really safe?" He smirked, a sarcastic smile on his face. "Do you really trust him?" A level S hunter leading a group of rookies clearly wants to use live bait to test the path. He looked at Uyen with suspicion. "Why didn't you just now?" Lam Uyen glanced up at the wall. Noticing the small shadows flickering and moving, "Didn't you expose him?" His fist tightened, squeezing that shadow. He suddenly yanked that object off the wall and tossed it forward, "Because I also want to see how many I can catch from the darkness." A strange sound echoed from the mouth of the cave. Red eyes flashed in the darkness. Something interesting emerged from the shadows. The lizards crawled out one after another, iron-eating lizards level 16 with 3,300 life points and 440 attack, 100 defense, and the skill Iron Tail Sweep that breaks through walls without corrosion. Suddenly, a beam of light shot down from above, and in the blink of an eye, a fire vortex erupted. The fierce roll ignited, the flames surged straight towards them, incinerating everything in their path. In another direction, Huang Vu dashed like lightning, launching an attack towards it. Before the lizard could counterattack, he immediately swung his sword, slicing down. "Stupid ones see my power." After finishing, Huang Vu turned back with a confident smile towards Captain Trieu Kue. Those substitutes attracted the monsters. "Let's share the combat power. Now it's much easier to breathe." "They really believe those lies about scouting the path." He forcefully swung his spear straight at the lizard, waiting until they were nearly dead. Then 2 iron-eating lizards in 2 caves were left with little health. The blow sent it crashing into the wall with great force. At that moment, we struck to harvest, attacking from behind as they rushed towards Trio Kue. Unafraid, he tightened his fists, a confident smile appearing on his lips. Hey, who are those rude guys screaming at? Bring it on. In the blink of an eye, Trio Kue unleashed his power, knocking down all three. He stood still, his face twisted in interest. Useless things only worthy of lying at the bottom of the food chain. On the other side, two men stammered, trembling as he spoke. Uyen, the spirit is about to turn around and swing its tail to attack, activating the iron tail skill to sweep across with its metallic tail when it hits the target. Inflicting 60% damage, Lam ordered the nearby zombies to charge out and counterattack, activating the curved dagger skill to throw a curved dagger towards the target. Maximum range of 10 meters can be recalled. Attack inflicts 60% damage, activating the stealth skill to enter a semi-invisible state, reducing the chance of being detected by the target. Activating the sneak attack skill to strike from behind, inflicting 80% damage on the target. The two sides clashed fiercely, neither willing to back down. When did so many zombies get captured? He opened his eyes wide in disbelief at what was happening, even more powerful than the previous battle in the desert wasteland. It was truly impressive. His gaze turned cold as he replied. That day I mentioned preparing a bit while I was at it. After hearing this, two men was taken aback. How could it be that in less than a day, Uyen had captured so many powerful monsters? While he was speaking, the system displayed a notification. You have successfully defeated 55 elite iron-eating lizards. He walked over, and the performance was not bad, observing the scene behind him. His eyes were misty with admiration. If only I could be as strong as Uyen, how wonderful that would be. Suddenly, a slight tremor in the cave caused two men to lose his balance. Is this an earthquake? He was about to turn to inform him when he was astonished to see Uyen simply raising a hand to absorb the life force of the lizard. Uyen is busy. Let me confirm the situation first. It can't be helped. I can't bother him with everything. I also need to exert myself a bit. Two men held his shield and turned to face the opposite direction, seemingly from this side. Under his feet, he felt the tremor approaching. Two men opened his eyes wide, looking down, and the shaking seemed to have disappeared. Before he could feel relieved, a tongue shot up from the ground, causing him to fall flat on his face, fear written all over him. He quickly stood up, only to realize the tongue was looming. The tongue wiggled in front of him, his eyes wide with astonishment mixed with tension. What on earth is this? Suddenly, the tongue lunged straight at two men with dangerous force. Struck by it, he rolled to the ground, screaming in pain. In an instant, the tongue shot up again. Immediately, it wrapped tightly around two men, keeping him under control and covering his mouth. The creature forcefully pulled two men down to the ground, his eyes filled with horror and despair. I'm done for. A streak of light sliced through the air, tearing apart the space at incredible speed. In a moment, the tongue was severed in two. How dare this creature hide underground and play tricks in front of me? Blood splattered everywhere, staining the ground red. He approached, grabbing the collar of the trembling man. Lamu Yen pulled two men away like a gust of wind, ignoring his fear. Moving to another corner, two men leaned against the wall, coughing continuously, his face pale. That must be a giant. We need to hurry before it comes out. Before he could calm down, the ground suddenly cracked and shook violently. Terrified, two men shouted loudly, his voice trembling, echoing in the cave. It's bad news! From beneath the ground, a gigantic monster suddenly emerged, roaring loudly. Thuk Tiet Liet Tik, level 20 Lord, 6,300 health points, 850 attack, 280 defense skills. Thuk Tiet Vitao Kichbat Thuk Bich Luidia Maxtiem Han Dok Sapusha. Upon reading that information, his face immediately turned pale, his body trembling uncontrollably. The action information indicated that the Blood Lizard Cave was the habitat of the elite-level monsters. But this one is clearly a Lord level. Although two men was terrified, he gritted his teeth and stood in front of him. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have encountered such a terrifying monster here. Let me hold it off. You quickly retreat. Lamu Yen was not afraid, only smirking at the terrifying monster. In that moment, his eyes flashed with a cold glint, indicating he might be worthy prey for me. He looked bewildered as it crawled on four legs, the growl echoing in the cave as it approached without hesitation. Lamu Yen drew his sword and charged straight at the Tuk Tiet Liet Tik. Then let's see if we can take it down, Min worriedly said. Uyen's voice dropped as he commanded the zombie vulture horde to charge. The vulture leader threw a knife, and as soon as the order was given, they launched their weapons to attack. But it quickly used its tail to block their strikes. The boss activated the skill Tiet Bi Tao Kich, causing the vulture's weapons to clash against its tail, ringing out. Lam Uyen seized the opportunity. He leaped onto the head of the Thuk Tiet Liet Tik, taking advantage of the moment. In an instant, he focused all his spiritual energy, activating the skill to shoot out a soul seal. Immediately, an explosion resonated, and Lam Uyen slowly landed on the ground to observe. But when the dust settled, it was unharmed. The firm skin of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik was only slightly scorched. He frowned, puzzled by such strong force. It only created a small charred mark. It roared in anger, its mouth wide open, the sound echoing, causing the entire cave to tremble. From the mouth of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik, poison was unleashed as the boss activated the skill Doksapfunsha. Doksapfunsha. The high-pressure poison attack once hit would cause toxic damage over time, dealing 3 to 10% of life points every second for 5 seconds. The poison from the monster's mouth spread out in waves. Green smoke clung to the air. Men standing to the side anxiously shouted, "Uyen, be careful!" A direct attack struck down to the ground. The Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik stared at Lamu. As he stepped back to examine the ground, he noticed that the area just attacked had been corroded. It was a corrosive attack of high concentration. Lamu frowned again. Evaluating the situation, it was more difficult than he imagined. The tail of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik lunged to attack when Lamu was unprepared, but he quickly jumped up to evade its strike. Nevertheless, it made him even more excited. Lamu-Yen's face darkened as he immediately summoned his zombies. The foolish leader summoned a zombie thief vulture that appeared instantly. As soon as it appeared, it immediately stabbed the knife in its hand into the tail of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik. Min, standing to the side with a shocked expression, saw the zombie monster that Uyen had summoned. Is it also a new subordinate of his? His eyes lit up with admiration. So cool. The zombie thief quickly approached the back of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik, holding knives in both hands, then raised them, followed by the system's prompt. Activating the skill Boy Tik, it stabbed straight down into the tail of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik. The boss activated the skill Bat Thuk Bich Loy, increasing defense by 150%, maintaining for 10 seconds. Almost immediately, the tail of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik struck. Seeing this situation, Lamu quickly warned his zombie, "Be careful," but it reacted too slowly and was knocked against the wall by the tail of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik. Min exclaimed in horror. Its reaction speed is too fast. Does this guy have eyes growing on his back? Lamu-Yen, hearing his words, couldn't help but think, does he have eyes growing on his back too? He recalled the actions and reactions of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik earlier. The lizard-like creature has a simple eye structure, mainly relying on changes in light to perceive its surroundings. When an enemy stands still, it is very difficult for them to detect. Then Lamu-Yen thought of the characteristics of lizards. However, their motion vision is extremely excellent. Their hearing and sensory membranes can detect very small movements of enemies. Some lizard species even have sensory organs. Infrared sensors used to detect the body temperature of enemies, so the sensitivity of lizards to the trajectory of enemy movements far exceeds that of humans. As if realizing something, Lamu smiled slightly. It seems that to deal with this guy, he must let it walk right into the trap. Think carefully, and I will throw a fireball at the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik continuously. Not only that, Lamu also loudly provoked, "Come here and see whose scales are harder, yours or my fireball's heat." Without a doubt, it quickly rushed towards Lamu. He stepped back while throwing fireballs at it, then focused on luring the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik. "Stay behind and keep this one excited so that it focuses all its attention on me." From Min on the other side hurriedly intervened. "Uyen, it's dangerous," he explained urgently. "The defense of the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik at the Lord level is too strong. These fireballs cannot inflict any damage on it. Uyen, this is too risky." Suddenly, he realized something was wrong. Wait, Uyen is running towards... Looking closely, Lamu-Yen is clearly running towards the group of iron-eating lizards on the other side. The group of iron-eating lizards quickly Lamu-Yen approached them. Seeing that the time had come, he immediately turned around. It was at this moment. Then Lamu-Yen dodged to the side, leaving the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik confused. It lost its momentum and in the blink of an eye, crashed into the group of iron-eating lizards, quickly being torn apart by them. Seeing the plan had succeeded, Lamu-Yen couldn't help but sneer, "You big-headed fool." Not even knowing how to break it, kept screaming in pain mixed with anger. Turning around, Lamu-Yen prepared to use his skill, enjoy the explosive feast. The system's voice rang out, activating the skill Destructive Technique. Immediately, the iron-eating lizards exploded, dealing massive damage to the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik. Seeing it had lost quite a bit of health, Lamu-Yen sneered, broke its armor. With its eyes fixed on him, it angrily charged forward. Lamu-Yen quickly retreated and commanded the vulture thieves, "Left side, 2 of you land on either side," causing the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik to become disoriented. The lizard also has another weakness: it cannot lock onto targets on both sides at the same time. The vulture thieves immediately drew a crossbow aimed straight at the Thuk-Tiet Liet Tik. It opened its mouth wide to gather breath for a big move. Lam Uyen jumped up and attacked from above. "This blow will send you to hell." It hit its weak point and screamed in pain. The Tuk-Tiet Liet Tick was defeated, and the system's notifications kept ringing. "Hit a weak point. Level up. Level up. Congratulations, you have reached level 14. He stood silently towering over the Tuk-Tiet Liet Tick's corpse with dust swirling around. 5 minutes later, Lam Uyen turned the corpses into his zombies. Meanwhile, the system announced that life points had recovered 85%. Another notification rang out. Dark Curse Level 3. Effect deals 20% damage and health of the target or restores 20% health of the iron-eating lizard. Consumes 60 mana cooldown time, 6 seconds proficiency, 200 out of 300. Seeing this notification, Lam Uyen pondered. It seems that if I use the skill scroll again, I could directly upgrade the Dark Curse to level 4. Looking at the Tuk-Tiet Liet Tick before him, he thought back. Although the destructive technique had consumed quite a few iron-eating lizards, being able to harvest this one was worth it. The system displayed its information: Iron-Eating Lizard Lord level 20 life points, 6,300 attack, 850 defense, 280 skill, Iron Tail barrier attack. Injecting the earth vein, spewing out poisonous sand, the undead body looked at it. Lam Uyen made a decision. "From now on, you will be my meat shield." At that moment, the urgent voice of two men rang out again. "Uyen, Uyen." He rushed towards him, eyes shining brightly. "This is the first time I've seen so much loot. Now let's count it." Lam Uyen looked back at the chaotic mess. "What's the rush? There are still a few old rats that haven't been cleaned up." Among the charred corpses of the iron-eating lizards, Trio Kue held a weapon, a sinister smile on his face. "These fools aren't worth mentioning at all." The warrior then spoke flatteringly. "It's all thanks to the captain's command. With you here, even lord-level monsters must kneel and praise." Oh Hoi, standing beside, reminded the captain, "Based on the sounds just now, I think the battle between the two sides must be coming to an end." "Then I think the battle between the two sides is probably about to end. We are now heading over there to pick up the stuff he kicked away from under his feet. Then Chu Kuei leads the other two forward to collect the bodies." Suddenly, a surprise attack caught them off guard, and they quickly scattered to avoid the falling rocks. Chiu Kuei roared in anger. "Who dares to ambush the Black Tree Guild?" As the dust and smoke gradually cleared, a figure emerged from within. Slowly appearing before them, Lam Uyen tightened his grip on the sword hilt, his gaze as cold as ice. "Aren't you here to collect the bodies? Let me do it personally." The guild members stared in shock. Stammering, unable to find words, he pointed directly at him. "No, it can't be." Those two were clearly eaten by those iron lizards. Two men shouted, angrily scolding him without holding back. "How dare you still have the audacity to say that I wasted my time considering the Black Tree Guild a legitimate guild? I never expected you to use players as bait to take down the dungeon boss." Without thinking, he rushed forward to shield Chu Kuei. "So what if you did? If we can use you as a stepping stone for our Black Tree Guild, then that is an honor for you pathetic creatures." On the contrary, his face turned pale, lips tightly pressed together, looking extremely ugly. "Damn it, how are these two still alive? Did they not encounter many iron lizards inside? All the monsters must have gathered around those unfortunate ones." He was so furious that he stomped his feet in place, angrily cursing, "You are truly shameless!" Chu Kuei couldn't help but chuckle, his eyes showing a hint of mockery. "That guy is becoming more and more annoying. Why not just take care of him?" He slowly stepped forward, his voice deep. "Although I don't know what kind of extreme luck you stumbled upon to survive, but now..." In the blink of an eye, Chu Kuei suddenly struck his movement so fast that others couldn't react in time. The moment of luck had ended. His sword came down fiercely right where the two had just stood, and they immediately fell back to avoid the blow without hesitation. Lam Uyen tightened his grip on the sword and shot straight up. "Just relying on you." He gripped the iron chain of Tan Tui, ready to deliver a fatal blow. The sound of metal clashing rang out, affecting the surroundings as he quickly retreated. One hand pressed against the ground to maintain balance, the corner of Chu Kuei's mouth curled into a smile of disdain. So, this is what that little demon wanted to play with, as Lam Uyen swung his sword. Dark skulls appeared from the void, and he charged in, smashing each one. Chu Kuei stood before the thick smoke, his gaze never leaving the front. In an instant, he froze, clearly startled. "Damn it, you can't escape!" He swung his sword straight at Chu Kuei, who reacted in time to raise his shield and block the fierce strike. "Do you really think I'm unprepared, you fool?" He sneered, looking directly into Lam Uyen's eyes. "The truth has proven who relies on luck to survive." As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Kuei's figure suddenly vanished into thin air. "Then you might as well go to sleep with one eye closed." He said nothing, just stood there observing his surroundings. A sound made him swing his weapon to ambush from behind, after all for a useless person. Lamu Yen slightly tilted his head, his gaze cold as steel piercing through the darkness without hesitation. He unleashed magic, a torrent of power surged forth, crashing down. "Then your little life can be toyed with at any time." An explosive sound erupted, shaking the ground as rocks flew up. Two men stood to the side, frightened and worried, while Wu Yen, the guild members, and Huang Vu stood in front of him, looking down on him. "This clueless fool is mine. You just started. Now it's my turn." Over here, Chu Kuei looked at him, lying under the rock clothes, torn and unable to move. "I don't have much time to play this game with you." He laughed savagely, raising his fist, intending to send Lamu Yen on his way to die obediently. But Chu Kuei froze his eyes wide in disbelief that his fist was blocked by the hand of the captain of the third team of the Black Cedar Guild. Right? Now Chu Kuei felt extremely frightened. Why was this guy Lamu Yen still bowing his head? But a cold smile had blossomed on his lips. His eyes were tinged with red as magic gathered around him. "I think I finally understand what the 10th ranked guild in the main city area is really like." Lamu Yen tightened his grip on his wrist, the strength causing Chu Kuei to tremble. He struggled fiercely, but the chains seemed to imprison Chu Kuei in a steel cage, his eyes reddening, muscles tensed, exerting force. Before he could react, Lam Uyin had grabbed him and slammed him to the ground like throwing a sack of sand. Chu Kuei was thrown far away, creating a straight line on the ground. He stopped grinding his teeth and coughing violently. "I really underestimated a bastard like you." Chu Kuei, furious, picked up the stick and continued to charge forward to attack. "Don't just stand there, charge together." The mixed group and the Imperial Guard follow the command and shout together. All three charged towards Lamoyen, shouting, "Die!" He was not afraid, just standing there staring with a smirk. The mixed group was indeed a mixed group without any moves. Just as the blows fell, Lam Uyen's figure had vanished without a trace. Above, two zombie vultures appeared, spreading their wings to attack them. Caught off guard in an instant, they panicked, unable to react, his eyes bulging with clear anger and panic. In front of Chu Kuei, the skulls rushed towards him as if wanting to tear him apart. The blow made Chu Kuei cry out in pain as he was knocked down, rolling on the ground in front of the other two. When Chu Kuei just lifted his head, his legs were already in front of him, panicking, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Wait, stop! If you really kill me!" "Then the Black Cedar Guild is not to be trifled with. Think carefully." Lam Uyen stared intently, his gaze powerful, directed at Chu Kuei. Then he glanced down to see Ming with heart-shaped eyes hugging his leg. "Uyen, you really will never give up. You scared me to death just now." He showed his disdain, kicking him aside. "You go to the side." Lam Uyen's expression changed as he raised his sword high, coldly declaring, "As far as I know, your Black Cedar Guild is not only tyrannical to outsiders, but also treats its own members very ruthlessly. If you die and drop in rank, losing the equipment the guild provides, they will also come to settle the score with you. Have you thought about how to explain this to them?" He was slightly frightened, sweating profusely, trying to negotiate. "This time, consider it my defeat." "Speak! What will it take for you to agree to spare my life?" Lamu Yen lowered his sword, pondering, then spoke. "Then list the names of the high-level players in your guild. Give me their professions, levels, and characteristics." At that moment around you, thunder rumbled skills that the #1 believer used in the previous life. "Never heard of it. No one knows what that is or how to deal with it. He must have an extremely rare, hidden profession, and no one has known from start to finish." Hearing this, Chu Kuei stammered, "What do you want that list for?" Lam Uyen ignored his words and directly stabbed through Chu Kuei's hand with his sword. Watching the blood flow from his hand, he coldly sat down. "Whether you write it or not." Chu Kuei's face turned pale. "I'll write it right now." After a moment, the list was firmly in Lam Uyen's hands. It seemed that the experts of the Black Cedar Guild were all here. Although there were a few slightly unusual professions, they did not match the characteristics of the #1 believer. He held his injured hand, probing. Can the elder let me go now?" He turned back, his words slightly ambiguous. "Can I let you go now?" After hearing everything, Chu Kuei hurriedly spoke. "Thank you, elder, thank you." Without waiting for their reaction, Lam Uyen unleashed magic, piercing through them. "But you have harmed so many innocent players. It's time to give them an explanation." The treasures of the three of them appeared one after another. The Moon Spirit's white-silver weapon type effective attack power, +45 critical hit, +30 physical attack, +30. A skill accompanying explosive force when attacking for the first time increases attack speed by 20% along with the copper sword weapon type effective. Attack power plus 30, hit rate plus 20, blue light magic robe copper weapon type effective magical damage plus 20, spirit plus 20. He glanced sideways with some suspicion. He saw Ming secretly hugging something called Yang. Hey, look at this. They also found the Yang treasure. He hasn't counted it yet, but he brought it in front of Lam Uyen. I'll choose first, the rest belong to you. Seeing him open it, Ming quickly shook his head. No. Teacher Lam Uyen sighed and withdrew his hand, then smiled ingratiatingly. I want to buy it. I can't take advantage of Uyen. He didn't want to say much to Zi Ming. It's up to you. Lam Uyen observed the items in Yang, shaking his head. Nothing suits me. You can take it all. He happily nodded. Okay, Uyen, I will transfer the money to you right away. Having received 54 gold coins, the two finally exited the cave during the day outside the Bloodscale cave. Indeed, there were still some white-silver equipment. Now obtaining golden equipment is not easy at all. Ming reached out wanting to say something, but he stammered and couldn't say a word. Uyen, there's something I don't know if I should say. He was puzzled. What's wrong? Just then, his body involuntarily trembled. I heard that the people from the Black Tree Guild have a vendetta online. If they can't win, they will take revenge in real life. How about letting my bodyguard follow you? After hearing this, Lam Uyen didn't show any attitude and waved his hand to leave. Thank you for the reminder. It's just a bunch of pests. I have my own calculations. Just then, he had just taken off the game helmet when a voice echoed from outside. Uyen, come on, it's time to eat. Lam Uyen stood up, left the chair, and replied, Coming. He walked towards the door, just touching the doorknob to open it when a giant figure wearing a helmet like his stood there, standing tall. Mr. Lam picked up the iron helmet and tilted his head, asking his son, Uyen, is this the iron helmet you need for gaming? Is this iron helmet broken? He looked over a bit surprised. It can be activated, so it seems it's not broken. But Dad, why did you suddenly buy a gaming helmet? He waved his hand, his voice somewhat flustered. He looked over a bit surprised that it could be activated. It seemed it wasn't broken. But Dad, why did you suddenly buy a gaming hat? He waved his hand, sounding somewhat flustered. No, Dad, why did you buy this? This was discovered by your mother. When cleaning the room at that moment, a strange feeling suddenly arose in his heart. A vague memory flashed by. In his previous life around this time, Lam Dan awakened his hidden profession. Mrs. Lam stepped out of the kitchen, smiling. All right, you two, don't just stand there. Come and eat. She glanced at her husband, sighed softly. Those two don't understand new things, thinking all afternoon about finding common topics with their son, just starting the machine and not knowing anything. Mr. Lam awkwardly replied, No, Uyen, don't listen to your mother. I'm just worried that your mother might break Dan's things while cleaning, so I checked a bit. He slightly bowed his head, his gaze deep. If I let my parents come into contact with the immortal world, they could utilize resources in the game to support them. Waiting until the mutation occurs, Lam's family would also have the ability to protect themselves. Lam Uyen smiled gently, her eyes determined. This game isn't hard. Tomorrow I'll buy 2 more helmets to play the game. Mom, you should try it too. He smiled slightly. It's okay, Mom, don't worry. By the way, hasn't Tudan come back yet? She looked at the clock and softly replied, Today is Friday. Tudan must be out with friends. Later I'll call the girl. Let her eat first. Lam Uyen suddenly spoke up. Let me call her. He took out his phone, pressed the familiar number, and the screen displayed his sister's name, Connecting. The voice of the operator rang out. The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Lam Uyen looked at the screen, his expression gradually becoming solemn. Even if Tudan didn't want to answer my call, she would at least reply to a message to settle things. She wouldn't ignore me completely. Mrs. Lam looked at him and gently said, Eat your meal, Uyen. Tudan must be eating out. Let's not wait for her anymore. He shook his head slightly, his tone calm. Mom and Dad, you eat first. I'll go down to buy some things. It's getting late and I'm afraid the shop will close. She immediately grumbled. Then the rice and soup will get cold. He then said, Let Uyen go. As he left, Mr. Lam's voice softly echoed, I still remember when Uyen and Tudan were inseparable all day. I don't know when they became strangers. Just let the kids talk to each other more. We should worry less. Mrs. Lam smiled. That's right. Uyen just isn't good at expressing herself, but after all, she's the older sister. He walked down the stairs heavily. The darkness seemed to envelop him. In his mind, fragmented memories rushed back from his past life. Lam Dan painfully hugged his shoulders and opened the door to the house. Just as he was about to eat noodles, he was startled and worried, asking, Tudan, are you okay? She ignored her brother wearily hugging her shoulders as she headed to her room. When she reached the door, Lam Dan suddenly paused, the pain evident. "Don't involve me. You can't report to the police or tell Mom and Dad, understand?" He stopped, his eyes filled with difficulty, unable to articulate his thoughts. Returning to reality, he continued to think about his past life after Lam Dan started playing the immortal world. It wasn't long before she awakened her hidden profession, but also took on many burdens that didn't belong to her. Everything started when that mysterious organization appeared, bringing troubles to her. Thinking of this, he suddenly remembered the Order organization. The Order was a mysterious group founded by 9 chosen people, and only those chosen by heaven had the right to join. Lam Uyen continued to think that among them was a prophet, someone who could sense the chosen ones in reality, and sent members to invite them to join. Unconsciously, the Order's power had become so strong that nothing could stop it in the game. Not only that, their influence on the real world was also growing stronger. Although they acted mysteriously and unpredictably, they also did some good to maintain social stability, making it impossible for people to guess their true intentions. He bitterly thought that after Tiu Dan was invited to join, she often undertook dangerous missions, but she had never mentioned this to her family. Thinking of this, the image of Lam Dan covered in injuries struggling to walk appeared in his memory. Lam Uyen frowned, hoping it wasn't them. As he reached the door of the house, his eyes sparkled with fire. He thought, but even if it was them this time, he wouldn't let Tiu Dan get involved blindly again. He stepped out into the night, suddenly noticing a familiar figure, and quickly hid in a discreet place. His gaze followed the person talking not far away in the cafe, his breath slowing down, feeling every small movement in the space. Lam Uyen thought just as expected Tiu Dan had met them, but the distance was too far to hear the conversation. Now he still couldn't make a move. He clenched his fist tightly and took a deep breath. It had been too long since he had used it. Feeling a bit strange, he focused his mind and activated the stealth skill, a faint light enveloping his body, the air around him vibrating lightly. His breath and aura had completely vanished. He thought to himself that his current stealth technique was at level 3 with a duration of 5 minutes. Lam Uyen hesitated and observed his surroundings. He then entered the cafe and stopped just enough to hear the conversation. He quietly said to himself that this distance should be sufficient. Over here, Tu Fan and Hak Sam were chatting with Lam Dan. Hak Sam's deep voice clearly resonated. "Sister, everything that needs to be said has been said. You should know. As for the truthfulness, you can judge for yourself. Joining us is not just for the organization, but because when disaster strikes in 3 years, he will be like a person with calm eyes but carrying some pressure. You will be brave like us, standing up for this world." Tu Fan smirked, his voice light but teasing. "Look at that, you're scaring the girl. Quickly retract that frightening aura of yours." Hak Sam frowned slightly, his tone serious. "I'm talking about something important, and it's for her good. The situation is already like this. After all, it still involves..." He suddenly jolted, looking towards where Lam Uyen was standing, causing his heart to race. Hak Sam's gaze turned furious as he lightly tapped the ring on his hand. Activating the skill to dispel a wave of powerful energy spread out. The notification system announced that the stealth effect had been dispelled, and the countdown began. Hak Sam frowned, looking towards where he had just stood. Unable to speak for fear of drawing attention, he turned to the bar counter and said, "Boss, do you have cold tea? Why didn't you say so earlier? I'll take a cup to go." The boss's voice came from the bar. "Coming right up, just wait a moment." Soon after, the boss came out with 2 cups of water, saying, "Here you go." From afar, Lam Uyen paused, narrowing his eyes, thinking that he used the dispel skill of the ring. Luckily, the stealth dispel had a 3-second delay. At that moment, the system's voice echoed. "The stealth effect has been removed." Hak Sam picked up a cup of water and drank, turning to look at Lam Dan, his voice low and decisive. "Lam Dan, I hope you consider whether you want to join us. A person with a righteous heart will not stand by and watch when disaster strikes. Wait until you think it through, then call the number on this card." Saying that, he placed a business card on the table. Lam Dan picked up the card, slightly bowed his head, his voice small but firm, and after finishing speaking, the 2 men stood up to leave. Tu Fan suddenly turned back teasingly, saying with a hint of implication, "Little beauty, I'm waiting for you. You must come okay." From afar, Lam Uyen was activating the stealth skill to monitor the situation. Seeing the 2 leave, he stood up to chase after them, but as soon as he reached the door, they were nowhere to be seen. He was startled, saying they disappeared. Suddenly, a cup of water was thrown at him, leaving him stunned for a few seconds. From a distance, Hak Sam's voice rang out, "Indeed, something is off." Just then, a cold voice from the system echoed in his mind. "The stealth effect is about to end. 3, 2... The space returned to silence, only the sound of his heartbeat echoing in his chest, an ominous premonition slowly forming. Everything was just beginning. Hack Sam walked slowly to the spot where the cup of water had been thrown. His gaze stopped at the ground where a faint glow remained, the remnants of the stealth skill that had just been broken. He frowned slightly, his voice steady as he said, "Perhaps I've been a bit too sensitive lately." "It's nothing at all," Teofan, standing beside him, said with his hands in his pockets, a slight smile on his face. "Big brother, you're too tense. Relax a bit." After saying that, he turned around to look around. "Oh, right. Do you think that girl will join us?" Hack Sam stood up silent for a moment, then slowly replied, "According to prophecy, sooner or later she will come." Teofan shrugged his eyes, lighting up with interest. "That's true." Hack Sam stood up, paused for a moment, then slowly replied, "According to the prophecy, she will come sooner or later." Teofan shrugged his eyes, lighting up with interest, saying, "That's true. Until now, the prophet's predictions have never been wrong." He chuckled softly, but I was even more curious about which girl I would be flying alongside. Hack Sam glanced at him. Frowning slightly, he said, "Let's see if you can keep your little life in the great calamity that is about to come." Teofan laughed gleefully, saying, "It's still very early." His voice was deep and cold. With a certainty that was almost infuriating, his smile faltered for a moment. Not far away, Lamu stood high above, quietly watching the figures of the two men gradually disappear. Fortunately, he had activated his movement skill just before the cloaking was broken. Escaping in the last moment, he gently closed his eyes, thinking that these people would be even harder to deal with. I thought that if I had too much contact, it might expose my forbidden profession.